What's up?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Football Addicts Anonymous podcast. Post-draft. It was a great draft weekend. I was very excited. A lot of great players. Congrats to all 262 draft picks, as well as guys that were undrafted and have got signed so far or invited to rookie minicamp this week. Yeah, I had a good time, man. I don't know if y'all caught any of our draft coverage with me and Schneck on the pod, but
Yeah, it was a great weekend, especially for a Jets fan. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to talk about here in this 2022 NFL draft coverage.
yeah, that's how we'll end the show today. We'll start off with get my paper situated here. Start off with USFL Week 3 recap. Got a couple NCAA nuggets, and then talk some NFL news because some big news just broke about 15 minutes ago. So let's get to it here. I wasn't able to watch as much USFL this weekend as I have in the first two, but I did catch some of three of the games. The fourth game I didn't watch at all because the USFL was on Peacock for the last game, and I did not get my subscription yet. I think I will be getting it eventually, but did not get it yet. But the first game on Saturday, two games yesterday. Bandits come back and get the win, 27-26. They are 2-1. Very happy. This was again. I think I only went. I think I went 1-3 again this week. So we're going back downhill. I can't remember who I picked for the Michigan-Pittsburgh game, but I think I thought I picked Pittsburgh. I might, if I didn't, then I went 2-2. But I can't remember. So, anyways, though, this game, yeah, the Bandits, they were down a little bit. They were down 17-7 in the second quarter, came back, and then down 23-14 at one point near halftime, 26-17. And then they came back in the fourth quarter to win it on a 46-yarder by Tyler Rausa. Not as time expired, still 13 seconds left, but they did well. I don't know why the Gamblers returned the kick, the kickoff. It took 9 seconds off the clock. They had one play, and it was a completion for like 9 yards, and the clock ran out. But yeah, I was impressed, man. This is the game that I thought Jordan Ta'amu was going to have last weekend. And he comes back, does a good job. They got boosted by a nice average from Juwan Washington on the ground. He scored. Derek Dillon had himself a day, 124 yards through the air. Capped by a 64-yard touchdown. That was the first score of the day for the Bandits. Yeah, Clayton Thorson wasn't bad either. Had a good game himself. Mark Thompson, 100-yard, almost 150 yards on the ground. He is continuing to be the leading rusher in the league. He's been a monster out of Florida. Anthony Ratliff-Williams, he had an interesting touchdown. I was mad because I was rooting for the Bandits, obviously, but he caught a long seam route from Clayton Thorson, got stripped. The ball hit the ground, and he kicked it forward, and it bounced right to him as he was still running straight towards the end zone. So he had a completion, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown.
You love to see it.
All in one play in a matter of like 5 seconds. But yeah, Isaiah Zuber scored. Not too much defensively. My defensive player of the game is actually on the losing side. Chris Odom, defensive end for the Gamblers. 6 tackles, 4 solos, 2.5 sacks, tackle for loss, and a forced fumble. And special teams for the game goes to Tyler Rausa with the game winner.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This seems to be the first game, at least that I've noticed, that the offense is actually kind of won out in this game. Like both quarterbacks actually did fairly decent, even though the interception trend still continues. But yeah,
week 2 we did have some scoring. Week 2 we had some scoring. This weekend though, I think the quarterbacks played very well, except for one game, which you'll see was absolutely horrible. But the other 3 games, I think the quarterback play was pretty well, and I think they're finally adapting, getting settled down, learning some of the defenses here. So yeah, Bandits 2-1, Gamblers 1-2. It's weird because we set it up this weekend. It was 2 1-1 teams, 2 2-0 teams, 2 0-2 teams, and 2 1-1 teams. Kind of feels scripted, but I'm not going to say that. Because, next weekend, it's not. We only have one game of teams with the same record. That's the first game on Friday. But, yeah, it was a little weird. All teams had the same records when they played each other this weekend. Bandits, -1, pushed. First push of the USFL season. I almost blurted out XFL there. Over 38.5 hit. It's going to get really complicated when we're talking USFL and XFL next spring.
Oh, yeah.
Then the shows are going to be just as long as when we're in season NFL.
You might have to split it up. One show be USFL and one show be XFL.
Yeah, we're going to add a show to Logan and I's law school workload. All right. The second game on Saturday. Top 2 teams in the USFL, 2-0 going in. And the hometown Stallions. Of course they're 3-0, right? Of course they are. Of course they're the only undefeated team left. But the Stallions got it done. 22-13 over the Breakers. Kyle Sloter, he was good. I mean, the completion percentage is lower, and he turned it over twice, but it's hard to fault him for his performance. And by some miracle, the Stallions won with the quarterback throwing under 40%.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how that happened, but
and their leading rusher only getting 36 yards too. Right.
Yeah. Jordan Ellis put 90 yards in a big workload for him, 25 carries on the ground for New Orleans. Johnny Dixon had a nice day, 7 for 86, 2 touchdowns on 10 targets for the Breakers. You had Victor Bolden, the Stallions' leading receiver, with 6 for 70, a touchdown, 13 targets. The tight end for the Breakers also had 10 targets, Sal Canella. Marlon Williams scored on a 46-yarder or 47-yarder there. And the tackles, man. The defense in this game was outstanding. As you can see, Scooby Wright was everywhere. 17 total tackles, 8 of them solos. Had a pass deflection and a forced fumble. But that's not my player of the game. My player of the game is Dondre Tillman. 11 tackles, 9 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, and 2 forced fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Honorable mention goes to DeMarquise Gates.
Oh, yeah. That's just crazy, though. Like,
just looking at the offensive stats, you would think that New Orleans ran away with this game.
The Stallions defense was outstanding in this game. We had a safety in this game, Willie Yarberry. He wasn't the one that actually caused the safety. But Kyle Sloter got stripped in the end zone. One of his offensive linemen recovered the ball and got tackled by Willie Yarberry. So Yarberry gets the safety. And then also we had a blocked punt in this game. Nigel Chavis there for the Breakers. He blocked the punt. But it was recovered by the Stallions. So no return for New Orleans, but they did get the block. The Stallions, underdogs, they got it plus 3.5 and under 44.5. The unders are still hitting though, where we are still getting unders. The books have raised the points in some of the games, like this one was the highest, 44.5 of the weekend. They're still, most of the games still sitting around 40 though, but we're still hitting the unders right now. Anyways. Okay, first game yesterday, Panthers with the first shutout of the USFL season, 24-0. And this is what I was talking about with the absolutely atrocious quarterback play. It was like, it was terrible. Terrible. And, you know, the completion percentages for the Pittsburgh quarterbacks were fine, especially Kyle Lauletta. I mean, 9 for 12, dude. Can't get much better. But he only threw for 42 yards.
42 yards, yeah.
And they didn't score. So, you know, they were throwing short all day. You know, Josh Love's 8.3 yards per completion. You know, Shea Patterson's only 49 yards on eight completions. Paxton Lynch got hurt in this game. He hurt his ankle. So Patterson had to come in. But Paxton was good early. He led them to 2 scoring drives early, along with 2 2-point conversions, because Jeff Fisher didn't trust his kicker all day. I think he kicked 1 field goal and he missed it. But yeah, they scored 3 touchdowns and 3 2-point conversions. That was the scoring of the day. But yeah, Paxton scored a touchdown. He ran a 2-pointer in. Reggie Corbin had a great day on the ground, 133 on 20 carries and a touchdown. Madre London for the Maulers did a good job on the ground himself. Receiving game wasn't that great, averaging 2 yards per catch. Stevie Scott scored a touchdown. I think he ran a 2-pointer in too. And then not much through the air for the receivers. Obviously, the quarterback sucked. But Trey Walker and Lance Lenore did good jobs to get the yardage and catches that they did. And defensively, I'm going with Jameson Houston for the Panthers. 5 tackles, all of them solos, 2 pass deflections, and he had a blocked field goal.
Well, so that what obviously you got there at the bottom of the screen there, the kicker for Pittsburgh, Ramiz Ahmed, was 0 for 3. So that was one of the misses. So then he actually missed 2 other field goals, or were they like tipped or blocked too?
Nope, he missed them.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a problem all day for Pittsburgh. They couldn't get any momentum, man. And the one they tried, one of his misses was from like 55 yards because Kirby Wilson was just grasping at anything, trying to get some points on the board, and they just couldn't get it. You know, you see that Carlo Kemp, he had a blocked punt, and they turned that into no points. You know, they were set up on like the 30, 35-yard line, and they didn't get any points out of it. That one, I think that drive, they went for it on 4th and 1, and Garrett Groshek just got stopped. I mean, the defensive line and the front 7 of Michigan. They're the best defense. Despite the 1-2 record, they're the best defense in the USFL right now. They've allowed 11, 10, and 0 points in their 3 games.
So 7 points a game.
Yeah, I mean they're awesome. It's just they hadn't had that offense to go with it, and finally, when they get something going with Paxton Lynch, he gets hurt. So we'll see if he's hurt indefinitely or not. But I don't know because Paxton started this game after Shea Patterson started the first 2 games, and Shea Patterson didn't get it done. So Paxton got his chance and had 2 scoring drives and, got hurt after that. So, yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, I don't really think it matters who the quarterback is. Just based on this game and these stats, like, that offense runs through Corbin there, it seems like. Or at least the running game. I don't know if it's necessarily specifically Corbin, but
let me see where he ranks in terms of rush yards. Overall. So he's 7th in the USFL in rushing yards. This was his big game. The 133, he only has 154 total yards. 2 games on the ground. So yeah. Yeah. But I think this is more of an indication of Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is record-wise, obviously they are the worst team in the USFL, and I think I really do think they are. I've liked what I've seen from Josh Love. Kyle Lauletta looked pretty decent in this game. You have to get the downfield passing game going.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just throw it short all the time. And Kirby Wilson's system isn't working.
Yeah.
They drafted players for this team to be ground and pound and run clock. And that's how they were going to win with little play needed from the quarterback, either quarterback. But it hasn't worked out. They haven't been able to consistently establish the run game. And when that's not working, Logan and I talked about this before. When it's not working and you don't have that guy at the quarterback position that can throw it when you need him to and be effective, it's hard to win ball games.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Pittsburgh can do. Going forward, the rest of the 7 games here, they got Jersey coming up on Saturday. So they better get their rushing defense figured out too, because we know the Generals can run the ball. And speaking of the Generals, that's the last game we had yesterday, 24-16 win over the Philadelphia Stars. Now, I would have liked to see how different this game would have been. Obviously, like I said, I didn't watch it. It was on Peacock. I would have liked to see how this game would have been different had Brian Scott not gotten injured, because he did get injured. Big blow to the Stars. Now, Case Cookus, you see, he didn't do too bad. Pretty good there, 65%, 146, 1 touchdown. But they couldn't stop DeAndre Johnson. I mean, he is the best dual-threat quarterback in the USFL right now. Another massive ground performance by him. To go with 75% through the air, 130 yards, 94 yards on the ground, and a touchdown there. But like I said, dude, Jersey knows how to run the ball, man.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Williams, 110 yards, 19 carries, 4 catches, 44 yards out of the backfield. Darius Victor scored twice, also had 13 carries, 51 yards there, a little under 4 yards per carry. Philly is the worst rushing offense in the USFL. Yeah. Paul Terry was our leading rusher.
Solid 17 yards.
17 yards, yeah. He had a massive workload out of the backfield catching the ball, though, 8 for 52. I mean, that's a big day for him. Kavonte Turpin leading receiver in the game, 78 yards on 5 catches, caught all 5 of his targets there. Bug Howard had a long touchdown. Former UNC tight end there, 4 for 78, 6 targets. DeAndre Overton scored a touchdown for Philly. And then defensively, there weren't many special statistics. So I'm just going to go with the top guy in a losing effort, Jordan Moore. Most tackles, 10 tackles, 8 of them solos, a sack, tackle for loss.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most straightforward game here. There's not a lot of eye-popping stats. It's just
the Generals just taking care of business there. But I think I asked this last week, or if I didn't, or whatever, I don't remember. But how does the playoff system work here? Are they all like? Is there 2 different conferences or whatever, or are they all just 1 through 8, or like?
Yeah,
how's that go?
So there's a North and a South division. The North division is the Generals, Stars, Panthers, and Maulers. The South division is the Stallions, Breakers, Bandits, and Gamblers. And the top 2 teams in each division go to the playoffs. They play each other, and then the winners go to the championship game.
Okay.
So right now, through 3 weeks, the playoffs would be this game, the Generals against the Stars, and one of the other games we had, the Stallions versus the Breakers.
Huh.
So, but yeah, the like I said, the Generals, they are averaging 201.7 rushing yards per game through 3 weeks. I mean, that's just crazy.
I mean, it helps when your quarterback can run for almost 100 yards himself. So,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I think that DeAndre Johnson guy has a really good chance of making a training camp roster at least. I mean, every week you put up his stat line, and he's putting up really good rushing yards. So, I mean, if you're an NFL team and you want maybe some option sub packages, why not go get a guy like him and see if he can carve out a role for you?
Yeah, and I think some of the teams that have rushing quarterbacks already would look toward him. You know, like the Ravens, the Bills, the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think what other teams have mobile quarterbacks like that.
the Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles, possibly even the Chargers. I know Herbert doesn't run it as much, but he's definitely capable. But yeah, I think some of those teams coming out, because this season will end. I think the championship's July 3rd, so it's then it's about 2 or 3 weeks till training camp. So I think that's when you'll see guys get signed. Training camp rosters. So maybe we will see DeAndre Johnson get a shot in camp.
Well, if I hope it doesn't happen, but if a similar situation happens like what happened with the XFL when they closed down mid-season, do you think that any of these guys in the league so far have done enough to earn a spot?
Oh yeah. When you look at the top, stat guys, you look at Kyle Sloter. Kyle Sloter's the leading passer in the league, 656 yards through 3 games. I think he's definitely, he's been around. He's been around the NFL before. Multiple training camps and practice squads and whatnot. So I think he would definitely get another shot. The guy I'm most confident that will be not just on a roster, not just in camp, but I think he will most definitely make a 53-man somewhere this fall. Mark Thompson, leading rusher in the USFL right now, 310 rushing yards through 3 games, averaging over 100 yards per game. So I think that's a guy that should most definitely make a roster. You got the leading receiver is Johnny Dixon right now, 165 receiving yards. Not that confident in him. Some of the receivers, though, have looked pretty good. Guy like Cheyenne O'Grady with the Bandits. I think he could make a team as a third tight end. He's been pretty electric catching the ball. Definitely none of the kickers are going to get shots. I mean, it's definitely gotten better since they changed and got the kicking balls, not just the balls with the chips in them, because that was the issue week 1, and then they finally got USFL kicking balls. So it's been better, but they're still obviously, like we saw with Ahmed there on the last one, 0 for 3 field goals. Not going to get it done, man. So,
Nope.
And some of the defensive guys, like Reggie Northrup's had a good couple weeks. Donald Payne is the leading tackler. He has 41 total tackles through three games.
Wow.
So he's a guy. Some of the defensive end, the pass rushers, I think could get shots. But I think definitely there will be a bunch of guys that'll get training camp shots at the very least. And then it's interesting because you look at it from the USFL roster building perspective, they're eligible to go play in the NFL. They can't play in the XFL until 2024, and their USFL rights are up on their 2-year contracts that they signed.
Mm-hmm.
But there are options to go to the NFL. So we'll see. We'll see how it works out, how many guys go. And then, if they don't make a roster, there's a big decision. Would you rather be on a practice squad, or would you rather go back and train USFL? I mean, obviously you're going to be on the practice squad. That's the thing that's funny though, is like, you're going to be on the practice squad and, just doing that through the NFL season, and then you come in the spring and you're back on your USFL team. Okay. That
was the other thing I wasn't sure about too, was if they decided to go with an NFL team, if that terminated their contract with the USFL.
I doubt it. I think it'd more, like I said, be like an option. That if I don't know how it's exactly going to work, but I would think that they would have an option to come back to the USFL on their same team if it doesn't work out in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't exactly know. The Generals, though, +1 here. They covered under 40.5. Got the hook.
Just under.
Half a point. All righty. Let's get into NCAA news. We got 2 things here. I know Logan sent me a thing about this first one on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh wide receiver Jordan Addison mulling a transfer. He's looking. He hasn't actually gone into the transfer portal yet, but he's looking to transfer possibly. And the issue with that is that it's USC that he's looking to transfer to. But the issue is that he already knows where he wants to go. And there have been rumors about Lincoln Riley calling him and saying, like, come to USC before he's even in the transfer portal, which is a no-no. But I like what Colin Cowherd said. I saw his little clip on Twitter today about the whole situation. He's like, there's no way Lincoln Riley actually called him. He's friends with Caleb Williams. They grew up together. And like Colin Cowherd said, players are going to talk to each other. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no rules against talking to another guy on a different team. And we see it all the time. We see it all the time in pro sports. And he also mentioned, you think LeBron doesn't call players and tell them that he wants them to come play with him? So I don't know. Logan probably knows more about it.
Well, all I saw was that tweet, and I'll say this: when NIL first came out, I was a big proponent of it. Still am. I want these guys to get their money. They deserve it, especially after not being able to do it for a while. But it does seem like there needs to be at least some guardrails coming soon, because I looked at some of the details of this. Apparently he's being offered like $3 million by a booster group for USC and a house in SoCal. So I mean, I think that it's a bad precedent to allow these blue blood teams to just be able to buy their way back into relevancy. Like USC hasn't been relevant for quite some time now because they didn't build good coaching staffs, and they also didn't allow coaching staffs to really build a culture there because they were out in 2 years. Now Lincoln Riley comes in, and I mean, it's just transfer city there. And I just don't know if that is good for the game.
Yeah. It's definitely something. The money that these guys, I mean, some of these guys are making more than what you would getting drafted.
Yeah.
Which should not be the case. I definitely think it's probably not, people will probably have an issue with it, but I think a system where, so for anyone that doesn't know, when a player is eligible for the draft, they send in or guys that want to come out early. Redshirt sophomores, juniors, redshirt juniors, etc. For guys that want to come out early, they have to send in to the NFL Advisory Board or Council, whatever it's called, NFL Draft Advisory Council, and they have to submit an application so they can tell that player where they are projected to go in the draft, whether it's first round, second round. I think they do first round, second round, and then anything else. So I think that would be an interesting way to cap players in terms of NIL, saying that you have to submit this to the NFL Draft Advisory Board. And then if you're projected first round, you can get this much. If you're projected second round, you can get this much. If you're projected the rest, you can get this much. I don't know if that's a good system. That's just something that I came up with on the fly, but the time.
Yeah, I think the transfer portal could also be something that's leveraged to kind of curb this a little bit. Like the fact that this guy could potentially get $3 million, a house in SoCal, and then just start right away for USC this season. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it.
Well, that's what they were talking about this weekend, because they had an episode of College Game Day on the pre-draft coverage, day 3, on Saturday on ESPN, and they were talking about this, and they're like, Lincoln Riley said that he's going to have a completely different he's going to add like 18 players, or 18 starters from his spring roster to his fall roster. Like you're going to get 18 starters over the summer somehow through the transfer portal. Like that should not be happening. So yeah, I don't know. I think, and I think first off, it's crazy that the USC administration would allow stuff like this to go on, considering their past history with NCAA violations. So, yeah, that's a whole different thing. But
I don't know. We kind of talked about this like 2 months ago or whenever that was, that we had our guests on when we talked about the NIL when that first came up. And yeah, the whole thing about the players being paid and stuff is a gray area. But I don't know, kind of like what you guys were just talking about. Like, I think a way that they could maybe limit it or stop it or whatever is like maybe putting a cap on the amount of players teams can get from the transfer portal or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, like what's going on with USC, like Rusty just said, 18 starters going to USC. Maybe cap that number at 10 or even 5. I don't know. But just, yeah, that's going to create problems with, like, I mean, obviously there's been Alabama who was a super team without the NIL stuff, but it's going to create even more big super teams and make other teams completely irrelevant now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other NCAA thing we had, Nebraska is in trouble again. Nebraska head coach Scott Frost issued a 1-year show cause order and also a planned 5-day suspension this fall. When that will be, we don't know yet, but he will be suspended for 5 days this fall. The Nebraska football program also put on extended probation through April 2023. They have a reduction of on-field coaches for 2 practices. I believe that is also in the fall. And a $10,000 fine. The penalties stem from having more than 10 on-field coaches during the 2021 season, and it specifically was a special teams analyst who interacted directly with the players. And as an analyst, you're not allowed to directly talk to the players. You're allowed to talk to the coaches, but you can't have direct involvement with the players themselves. So, yeah, Nebraska in trouble a little bit too. No comments?
That's just,
I mean,
I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that rule. Like, it just feels. I mean, really, like, analysts can't talk to the players. You want to separate that, like, part of the game out, like, and like have them be a, like, behind the shadows entity of your football team. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I had the same thoughts there. Like, it's just stupid that they can't interact with the players. Like, I don't see why they can't. Like, what's the point of preventing that?
I couldn't tell you. Probably just another NCAA rule that it's like the jelly rule for anyone that knows college sports and collegiate rules. The jelly rule, where you can give them grape jelly, or you can give them strawberry jelly, but you can't give them grape jelly on a visit for their bagel. So, yeah, that is the NCAA news. Okay, we're gonna get into draft day trades. We're just gonna talk about the player trades that happened on draft day, throughout the draft. Actually, there's 3 of them that happened during the draft. We also had one that just happened, which I will talk about. But first one, yes, the Eagles. They got a number 1 receiver. A.J. Brown is a Philadelphia Eagle. He's actually having his introductory press conference right now. I've been getting updates on it. But they sent number 18 overall pick and the number 101 pick in the third round, which was subsequently traded to the Jets. And they got a good player with that pick, Chris, I know. But the 18th pick turned into Traylon Burks, which was funny because Daniel Jeremiah, his comp for A.J. Brown, or for Traylon Burks, was A.J. Brown. So they essentially got the same guy, at least in DJ's eyes, for a lot less money. Because the Eagles, they signed A.J. Brown to a 4-year, $100 million deal, $57 million guaranteed. A lot less than what he wanted from the Titans. He wanted like $80 million guaranteed from the Titans.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how the whole process went. Like, I don't know if they like got AJ Brown's approval for the trade or whatever. Because I mean, obviously he had to work out that deal with the Eagles, so he must have had some input in it. But I don't know. I like this trade for the Titans. I'm not so sure I like it for the Eagles though, because mostly because of that point you already made, that Traylon Burks is essentially the same player as A.J. Brown. So, again, you're an Eagles fan, Rusty, so you probably have a better opinion on it than I do. But I think even though A.J. Brown is the proven veteran player, I'd rather roll the dice with the rookie contract, with the rookie wide receiver, instead of investing $100 million, even though it's only about half guaranteed, but essentially $100 million into one player. When the Eagles, they're not just one wide receiver away. They had a lot of holes, which they did fill a lot of those holes in the draft. But still, I don't think that this makes them a prime contender just trading for A.J. Brown here.
I think it does. I mean, especially when you look at Howie's, track record drafting receivers has not gone well.
That is true. But still, like, they had Traylon Burks in their hands there, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you don't know if Traylon Burks is going to work out. That's uncertain. Regardless of how highly he's, drafted or scouted, whatever, that's uncertain. It's not 100%. A.J. Brown's 100%. This is a guy that is still, he's 25 years old. He's turning 26 this year. He's still young, in his prime. He's had 3,000 yards through 3 seasons. It's a proven commodity.
I think this is a good trade because of the fit. I think that you look at, this is the penultimate year of Jalen Hurts' evaluation, right? This is the year where you gotta, he's either the guy or he's not, and then you gotta figure out who is. I think AJ Brown complements Devonta Smith really well. And I also think, let's say Jalen Hurts isn't the guy. Well, now you've built out, they have a really good O-line. They got pretty good backfield. And now they got a proven wide receiver 1 and a potential other wide receiver 1 in Devonta Smith. If he can continue to develop, it's got to be a really attractive destination for veteran / free agent wide receivers. Maybe Kyler Murray requests a trade, or maybe contract extensions don't come through with Lamar, or hell, maybe Brady wants to play 2 more seasons. So I think that's kind of like the MO right now for teams, is get a young quarterback on a rookie deal, build a ton of stuff around him, good O-line, good weapons. And if he's not the guy, well, at least you've built up a situation in which a proven commodity will want to go there.
Yeah, and even if he's not, like they've been saying, everyone has been saying all along, even if Jalen Hurts isn't the guy, we have 2 first rounders in 23. We have 2 second rounders in 24. that's 4 premium picks that you can use, because I highly doubt the Eagles will be drafting at the top. You know, that they were 9-8 this season. They're a playoff team. I highly doubt they will regress so much with the additions they've made in a still not completely tough division.
Yeah, it's not a great division.
And especially with how much weaker the NFC has gotten. You know, those NFC games that they're going to be playing aren't going to be as hard as, you know, all the AFC teams have to go through. So I still think they're going to win 9 or 10 games and possibly make the playoffs as a wild card, or even win the division this season.
Yeah, I definitely think they can win the division.
They have the ammo then next year if they see that Jalen Hurts isn't the guy. Even like this, they made the playoffs. But if they see that Jalen Hurts isn't the guy, they have the ammunition to move up in the draft next year to get a guy like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or someone else, you know, that comes out. We always have, you know, one guy every year that comes out of nowhere and is a first round kind of guy. So, but yeah, I like the trade. I was ecstatic on night one. I'll talk about the rest of my team's night one picks and the rest of the Eagles draft when we get to the draft recap. But next player trade we had, this was the other one that happened on night one. The Cardinals getting another wide receiver, getting Marquise Brown and a third-round pick, number 100 overall. That turned into pass rusher Myjai Sanders for them for the number 23 overall selection, which the Ravens
that was Linderbaum
into
right?
Tyler Linderbaum. They traded back with the Bills to 25. And yes, that ended up being Tyler Linderbaum out of that trade. But this looms big now. I guess we'll actually talk about the news that broke because it connects with this trade. Well, Marquise Brown is gonna be the number 1 guy for the first 6 games now, essentially. You know, DeAndre Hopkins suspended today, first 6 games of the season for PEDs. So this is massive, and I'm very happy because I have him on at least one of my dynasty teams. So fantasy-wise, I'm very excited for Marquise Brown the first 6 games, especially.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to wonder though, like, was this a thing that happened post-draft with DeAndre Hopkins, or do you think that the Cardinals were aware of it over the weekend while they were doing the draft?
I think the Cardinals were aware of it because I saw a tweet from Ian Rappaport that said Hopkins withdrew his appeal, so his suspension was final today.
Yeah. So I
feel like they already knew.
Yeah, so I don't know. If I were the Cardinals, though, like, obviously Brown is coming from a team that was heavy on the run. They didn't pass too often, and when they did, it was mostly to Mark Andrews. So I don't know. I feel like Marquise Brown is he's a very big question mark to me because he hasn't been able to really show himself and his true potential on a team like the Ravens. So I don't know if he can really be a number 1 because, I mean, yes, he was the number 1 in Baltimore, but like I said, they didn't pass the ball a lot, and so he didn't get a lot of opportunity there. And plus, here with the Cardinals, their wide receiver depth already wasn't all that great. So they now don't have DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games. They already lost Kirk to Jacksonville. And their other top receiver that they had last year was AJ Green, and he's not there anymore, I don't think. So
no, they re-signed him.
Oh, they did? Okay, well then they still have him at least.
Rondale Moore.
Yeah, but I don't know. Marquise Brown would not have been the receiver I would have tried to go for if I were the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, well, someone mentioned it. He was selected 25 overall in his own draft class, and he's done really not he hasn't really done anything to live up to that billing. Now I think he's going to be better. Yeah, I think he's a better fit for this offense. That kind of air raid. I mean, he wasn't a good fit for that kind of like power running game that the Ravens try to run. I mean, he's just small.
I didn't want to block.
Right. Yeah. He basically cannot block NFL corners, but he's not really going to be asked to do that in Arizona. So, I mean, I like the fit, but I mean, the value for the Cardinals just isn't there. I just don't think he's worth the first round pick.
Well, I thought that too, but then when they get the third round pick with him, I think it makes up for the added value there to trade the first rounder. That's how I.
Yeah,
this trade
I mean,
I think makes up for it.
Yeah, this trade is definitely
to be determined who the winner is, because like I said, or like we said before, the Cardinals got Myjai Sanders with that number 100 overall pick. So if he turns out to be even half the pass rusher that Chandler Jones was for them,
right,
then I think they win the trade. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're getting like 6 to 8 sacks a year from Myjai Sanders as a third round pick, I mean, I think that would work out. And then the next draft trade we had was a familiar face going back to his former team. Troy Hill headed back to the LA Rams. They needed corner help, depth behind Jalen Ramsey, because they lost Demarius. Was it Demarius Williams?
something like that.
I don't remember. It's D. I remember he starts with a D. I can't remember.
It's Darius Williams. Yeah, he went to the Chargers, right?
Yeah, I think so. But they lost him in free agency, so they needed some corner help behind Jalen Ramsey. I think he has a pretty big salary. That's why this pick was a 2023 pick for one. It was on day 3, so it didn't really make sense for them to trade a day 3 pick. I mean, they had I think they ended up having 7 or 8 picks in the draft total, with most of them coming on day 3. So, but yeah, 2023 5th rounder going back to Cleveland. Signed him in free agency. Was it just last year? I don't know, maybe it was 2 years ago. But I feel like this is relatively quickly to give up on Troy Hill and for Cleveland's sake.
Yeah, just continue to wonder what the Browns are doing.
And then one trade that just happened, another lower level trade for a future pick. The Texans just traded defensive back Lonnie Johnson Jr. to the Chiefs for a 2024 7th round pick. Talk about not even close to getting your return value on a player. The Texans drafted Lonnie Johnson, I believe in 2018, 2019, in the 3rd round, I think it was. And I was shocked by this trade just because I thought he was one of their starting corners. Just to make sure, I'm gonna check the depth chart right now. But I'm pretty sure he was slated as one of their starters at the corner position.
I guess they figure because they got Stingley now, maybe they can cut and run. But, I mean, you'd rather just be elevating your secondary instead of just level setting it, I guess.
Thomas, Tremon Smith, Jimmy Moreland, and Reggie Robinson. So I know I froze up on y'all's end.
That's it.
But I don't know. Maybe they see something in some of their other corners. I mean, their top three aren't terrible. Steven Nelson, Desmond King are the other two besides Stingley. But still, I was kind of surprised about this trade here. And maybe, I don't know. I didn't read up a lot on Jalen Petrie. Maybe he can play some corner if they need him to. I didn't think he had that versatility, but I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, he can play the slot.
Which is where Desmond King plays. Okay. The fifth-year options. We had a bunch of them. Some picked up, some declined. The ones that got picked up, Packers picked up their two guys, safety Darnell Savage and defensive end Rashawn Gary.
Yes, sir.
Options picked up there. Bengals picked up offensive tackle Jonah Williams. No surprise there. Panthers did the same with defensive end Brian Burns. Again, not a shocker. The Cardinals, new wide receiver Marquise Brown, they picked up his fifth-year option. Makes sense. And then the last one here, the Texans picked up offensive tackle Titus Howard's fifth-year option. That one I think was questionable, but I think they've seen enough from him in the first 3 years.
Wait, this is for what draft class again? 19?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because I was trying to think. I was like, who even would be the Jets option tonight? Is that Quinnen Williams, I think? Or
Yes, they already picked it up.
yeah, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember what year it was and who it was for the Jets.
Yeah. These are just options declined and picked up that are new ones that we haven't said before on the show. Declined options, a lot of players and some name players here too.
The entire Raiders first round pick.
The Eagles declined offensive tackle Andre Dillard's fifth year. That one's not a surprise. Dillard has been a disappointment. Obviously, they signed. Why am I forgetting who our left tackle? Mailata. They signed Mailata to a big deal rather than Dillard because Dillard hasn't been able to stay on the field for one. And Mailata, coming out has proven himself as a left tackle. Like Chris said, the Raiders' entire 2019 draft class got their options declined, which I think the biggest shocker to most people, Josh Jacobs, no option picked up. So he will play out the rest of his deal this year, which is intriguing because of who they drafted, which I'll talk about when we get to the draft. Defensive end Clellan Ferrell and safety Jonathan Abram. I think Abram was a little bit question mark. Ferrell has not. We saw a guy in that same draft class that has worked out, Max Crosby, who they already paid.
Yeah. Well, Ferrell's also like he kind of it's a different position, whatever, but he was the same situation as a guy that in this year's draft class that the Patriots got in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
He was drafted way ahead of where he was projected to. He was fourth overall.
I think he was still the first round pick, but not.
Well,
fourth.
yeah, but no, I know, but they drafted him with their first pick, which was number 4 overall, when he still would have been there on the board with their third pick. I forget what number it was, but for whatever reason, they wanted to get him first.
I think the Cole Strange thing is more analogous to their tackle, who is now a guard, who I'm blanking on his name, Alex Leatherwood. They drafted in 2020, I think it was. So expect next season when we're when we're at this same spot to hear Alex Leatherwood's fifth-year option being declined. The Steelers, they declined linebacker Devin Bush's fifth year. I'm not really shocked about that one. Bush has had some decent years. He just hasn't been the same since he tore his ACL.
Uh-huh.
So I'm hoping, they always say that season after, your first season back, you're still a little timid. But I think the second season after you tear an ACL is where you're really supposed to be back to your game. So I'm hoping that he shows that this year. Even though we did draft a linebacker in the 7th round, who I had no clue who the guy was. But even being out of Ole Miss, I had never heard of the guy. It has a generic name, Mark Robinson, But and then the last one here, Chargers declined defensive tackle Jerry Tillery's fifth-year option as well. Chargers said he's still in their long-term plans, apparently. But Tom Telesco declining his fifth year.
Yeah.
All right, boys, I'm going to hop off. I'll see you guys Friday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Already talked about the DeAndre Hopkins thing. We had 2 rare tenders being put out there today. Unrestricted free agent tenders put out on 2 players. Ravens linebacker Justin Houston and Chiefs linebacker Melvin Ingram. So for anyone that doesn't know, like I said, these aren't very common. They've been used a couple times, though, in the last couple of years, though, I think. I remember some people getting these tenders put out there on them. So if either of these guys are signed before July 22nd or the first day of training camp, whichever is earlier, or whichever is later, I think it said. If they are signed, they count toward the compensatory pick formula, which today was the deadline for the comp pick formula. It was at 4 p.m. Eastern was the deadline for unrestricted free agent signings to be counted towards the comp formula for the 2023 draft picks, compensatory selections. But if they're signed, they count towards the formula. If they are not signed by July 22nd, the Chiefs and Ravens, respectively, will get exclusive negotiating rights, so they cannot sign with any other team but the Ravens or Chiefs there for those 2 players. So, yeah, rare tags used there, tender. The Jags signed a big extension during the draft on day 3 on Saturday. They signed long snapper Ross Matisic to a 5-year, $5.965 million extension, $550,000 in signing bonus. Big deal for Ross.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'd sign that deal every day of the week. Give me $1 million a year to snap a ball.
Bro, right? I think I'm a pretty good long snapper. I think I can do it. Wow. So before we go on to the next thing, interesting news just came out. The independent review by Mary Jo White of the I'm trying to think how you say this name. Debevois law firm into the allegations by former Browns head coach Hugh Jackson has concluded. And the conclusion from those investigations were that the allegations against the Browns could not be substantiated. So that's big. That's big in the Brian Flores lawsuit. The Browns are found not guilty, essentially. The Niners, though, back to NFL news here. The Niners got some more corner help. They re-signed corner Jason Verrett. Has not been in the spotlight too much since he went to San Francisco, but has been a decent piece for them. And then free agency here, we got some lower level signings. Like I said, 4 p.m. Eastern today, comp pick formula no longer matters for free agent signings. So that's why we see, like I saw Rappaport say, you know, this is when the second year of free agency is really going to heat up with some of these guys that are still out there. So we got some today. The Saints signed safety Tyrann Mathieu. This is a bigger deal than I thought he was going to get at this point in the season, the offseason.
Especially from the Saints.
3 years, $33 million. I was surprised first off that he got a multi-year deal. And second off, that he got that much money.
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. I mean, from Matthew's perspective, at least, he's kind of at like the midpoint in his career. Like, it's probably a downward trend from here. And so 3 years, it probably isn't the end of his career, but Louisiana is where he started, because that is where he went to college at LSU.
He's from New Orleans.
And he's from New Orleans as well, yeah. So he's coming back home here, which is probably a big reason why he wanted to sign with New Orleans. And, I mean, that's also probably why he negotiated a 3-year deal, because he wanted to stay there for a while.
Yeah, I think that I'm not very disappointed. The Eagles were the only other team that were really in the mix for Tyrann Mathieu. I don't think that it was ever very serious from the Eagles standpoint. But yeah, it's a good signing. I still don't know why the Saints they keep signing safeties though. Like, how many safeties do you need?
Oh, I don't know, but I know they got a pretty good pair of them with May and now Mathieu. So
yeah, so they go 5 deep at safety right now. Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Daniel Sorensen, who they signed from the Chiefs, and they signed Justin Evans from the Bucks.
Yeah.
And usually you only keep 4.
Well, maybe they're going to start using a lot more of the 3 safety sets.
They could. Yeah, and the thing is, I can't even see a spot in their corner depth that would necessitate one of those 5 safeties playing corner. Because I know C.J. Gardner-Johnson can. He can play corner.
That's the other thing I was thinking, too, is that he's that hybrid guy. So,
but like I said, when you look at their corner depth, I don't see a spot where he would fit in, because they go 5 deep at corner, too. With Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, P.J. Williams, Alontae Taylor, who they drafted, and Bradley Roby. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to have one of the best defensive backfields probably in the league, pending injuries, which Tyrann Mathieu has had a few.
Even with injuries, they're one of the deepest secondaries in all of football. So,
yeah. I had a thought in my head and it just went away real quick. Yeah, I can't get it back. It was something about Tyrann Mathieu, and I can't remember it. Oh yeah, he's turning 30 next weekend. I think it is the 13th. So yeah, I think this deal it might be it for Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Like, it could be 3 years, even though like 33 is kind of questionable. He might want a deal after that, but it all depends on his health over the next 3 years and his production.
Yeah, and he has been declining. You can see he's been getting a little bit slower. He's still pretty fast, but not like he was coming out of LSU. Okay, a couple other signings here. The Commanders got some offensive line help, signing Steelers guard Trey Turner, 1 year, $3 million there. Turner just continues to go on a journey. One year deals everywhere.
Yeah, well, we all know how much the Commanders need to build up that offensive line because of who their quarterback is now.
Well, also, Brennan Sheriff gone, free agency to
That's
Jacksonville. Massive hole there. See what their line looks like. Because ESPN's so good, I expect them to have Trey Turner in there already. They do not. Oh, no, they do. They have him as a backup, though, to Wes Schweitzer at right guard. I don't know about that, but yeah, it's not terrible. Not the best, but not horrible. Charles Leno at left tackle, Andrew Norwell left guard, Chase Rouillet at center, which I think Tyler Larson might be able to beat him out. Wes Schweitzer at right guard with Trey Turner backing him up, and then Sam Cosmi at right tackle. You also have Sadiq Charles and Cornelius Lucas at the backup tackle spots, and a guy they drafted in Chris Paul. Yeah, they drafted Chris Paul. Not CP3. Not CP3. The last free agency signing here, we have the Texans. Got some pass rush help, signing Seahawks pass rusher Rasheem Green to a 1 year deal as well.
Yeah, and we all already know that with the history of the show, there's going to be some big free agency news as soon as we close the show too. So look out for like the Julio Jones or now I'm blanking on the pass rusher's name.
Jadeveon Clowney?
Yes, Jadeveon Clowney. Like, look out for that news tonight, everybody, because it's going to happen.
They slotted Rasheem Green in as a starter right away on the depth chart.
With the Texans, I'm not surprised.
Good Lord. Yeah, but they have other guys at the defensive end spot. They have Kingsley Keke, Ogbania Okoronkwo, Derek Rivers, Jordan Jenkins.
Jordan Jenkins is a defensive end for them?
Yeah.
He was a linebacker for the Jets.
Don't the Jets run a 3-4?
I don't even remember what they ran under.
No, they don't. They run a 4-3 because it's Robert Saleh.
Yeah, I think
6'3", 260.
Well, he was a linebacker for the Jets when he was here. So.
Oh. Yeah, the Jets used to run a 3-4 before Saleh. That's why he was a linebacker.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, some releases here. Nick Foles, they finally freed him. The Bears released quarterback Nick Foles. Nice gesture by the team, allowing him to choose where he wants to go.
Yeah, there's some.
You're not coming to Philly.
There are some potential landing spots for him that might want a veteran backup, such as him, but not many options, I don't think.
I.e., Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta needs a veteran backup. I don't think they can go into the season with just Desmond Ridder and
Marcus Mariota.
Felipe Franks behind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The Browns, they released kicker Case McLaughlin and Chris Blewett, who I didn't write down there because I didn't want to, but I'll name him anyways because that was the other kicker they had.
Uh-huh.
They drafted kicker Cade York at LSU. He was the first specialist to go off the board in the 4th round. And we saw 3 specialists go off the board in the 4th round.
Uh-huh.
Kicker,
I know one you were very upset about.
Yeah, but he didn't go till the 6th. Still mad. And then the Eagles, they released guard Nate Herbig today, 1 week after he signed his restricted free agent tender.
That's just messed up.
Well, they drafted Cam Jurgens in the second
I
round.
get it.
So, that's one thing that I forget who put it out on Twitter, So one of the bad things about the draft, we get all this influx of young talent, and then it's veteran release time the week after the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. It is that time now. It is time to talk about the draft. So first off, I have in my hands, this side is Logan's mock draft. That did not go very well.
Nope.
And this is our mock draft, which went pretty well. I thought it went decently, especially at the top of the draft. But
Yep.
Logan, so I scored it, just made up my own scoring. You get a quarter of a point if your player landed within one pick of his selection, of his actual selection. You get a quarter of a point if the player drafted at a spot was the right position, but the wrong team, or if your player was in the right position. No, if it was the right position played, but at the wrong team or the wrong pick.
The wrong player.
And then you get a half a point if you got the right team of the player, just the wrong pick, or if you got the right player in a slot, but the wrong team. And then a whole point if you got the right team and in the right slot. So Logan got 5 total points. He got a half a point for Jacksonville, a half a point for Detroit. He had Hutchinson and Walker flipped. The reason he gets a half a point, both of them within one pick of each other, right slot, and they were both the right position. Both edge rushers there. He got a half a point for Evan Neal. Just he had the Giants taking him at 5, and they drafted him 7th. Got a quarter of a point for Charles Cross, right position for the Panthers, just wrong player. Ike Ekwonu going 6th. He got a quarter of the point. Actually, that should be a half a point. That's why I think I screwed that up. So he should have 5.5. No, never mind. I'm thinking the wrong New York team. My bad. I'm seeing a J, and it's supposed to be a G. But he got a half a point for the Giants. Or no, that's one that shouldn't have been there. Never mind. That one shouldn't have been there. Quarter of a point though for Washington at 11. He had Drake London going to Washington. 11th overall ended up being Chris Olave to the Saints. So right position there, wide receiver. Half a point for Jordan Davis to the Texans at 13. Right slot, wrong team. Eagles got him there. A quarter of a point for the Saints drafting Jameson Williams at 16th. That is the pick the Commanders traded down to. They still selected receiver Jahan Dotson. Got a whole point, his first one. He went 0 for 18 on exact player team matchups. And he finally got one right. He got Trevor Penning to the Saints at 19th overall. He got a quarter of a point for Kyer Elam at 21 overall to the Patriots. 21 ended up being Trent McDuffie when the Chiefs traded up to get him. And got a half a point for Tyler Linderbaum going to the Bills at 25, went to the Ravens at 25. And then he got a half a point. Lewis Seen to the Bengals, right position, and with one pick was drafted 32 by the Vikings. Daxton Hill ended up being 31st, which is one that we got. I couldn't believe we hit that one that late in the first round. So in terms of ours, I'll go reverse, or should I go down? I think it's easier going down, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we hit 3 out of the first 4 we got exactly right. Trayvon Walker to Jacksonville, Aiden Hutchinson to the Lions, and Sauce Gardner we got right to the Jets at 4. I apologize for Evan Neal at 3 to the Texans. That probably screwed the whole thing up.
That's right. Well, if you didn't go him, you probably would have gone with Thibodeau, right?
I don't know. I was dead set the Texans were drafting Evan Neal.
Well.
And then we got a bunch of points in the top 10 too. We got a quarter of a point for the Giants at number 5 for Ike Ekwonu because he went number 6 to the Panthers. We also got a quarter of a point for the Charles Cross selection from the Panthers at 6 because it was the right position, wrong player. Got a half a point for Kayvon Thibodeau, right player, right team, just wrong spot. Two selections late. Quarter of a point for the Falcons and our Garrett Wilson selection. Drake London going to the Falcons, right position, wrong player. Quarter of a point for Jameson Williams to the Jets at 10. Also, same thing, right position, wrong player. We got a half a point, same thing that Logan did for Jordan Davis at 13. Eagles coming up to get him.
But
and that's not on us. That's not on us.
We tried to trade the Eagles into the 13th spot, so we should get the full point for that. The system just wasn't letting us do it.
We got a quarter of a point for Traylon Burks to the Saints at 16. Like I said, with Logan's, Jahan Dotson going there, so to the Commanders, right position. Get a whole point. Kenny Pickett to the Steelers at 20. God, I was so excited, man.
That was awesome.
We got a quarter of a point for Tyler Linderbaum to the Cowboys at 24. We were just one selection off for that one. We got a half a point. This was a good one, too. We got a half one. We predicted Kyer Elam to the Bills, right? Just in the wrong spot. Two positions off after they traded up to get him. And like I said, we got a whole point for Daxton Hill at 31 to the Bengals. 8 total points for us.
So wait, how many did we get 100% correct? Like right spot, right team?
5.
5? And then how many did we get right team, wrong spot?
1.
Just Elam?
2. Kayvon Thibodeau, Kyer Elam.
So we got
technically 3 if you want to count the Jordan Davis thing.
Yeah. But yeah, this draft, especially round 1, just that was a crazy night. There was a lot of trades, some questionable trades, especially. I'm looking specifically at Minnesota and Detroit trading, with Detroit ultimately moving up 20 spots to draft Jameson Williams.
Well, the Vikings did it twice. They did it. They gave 2 receivers to their NFC North opponents when they traded back with the Packers on day 2.
And it was weird that the Vikings actually did that. But I was looking more at the Lions side of things on that one, though, because 20 spots is a big jump, even though they didn't really have to give up a lot. 20 spots was still a big jump to go and get a receiver that's hurt and is a little bit of a question mark right now.
Yeah, especially when you're not going to compete here,
Yeah.
So, which I did understand. I was reading like a post first round kind of a draft grade thing. I don't recall who. I think it might have been Mel Kiper's draft 1 recap or whatever. I don't know exactly, but I was saying it made sense when you look at it by saying, okay, we're drafting this guy to compete in 23 and beyond. And we're not going to draft a quarterback because there's a better class next year and get one. Well, we know we're not going to compete this year. And more than likely, we're going to be drafting high enough to get one of the top quarterbacks.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
in that respect, it made sense to get Jameson Williams.
Yeah. But speaking of the quarterback class too, that was another position. Like, I know it wasn't the greatest quarterback class. Obviously, only Pickett going in the first round. But I also didn't expect the quarterback class as a whole to slide as much as they did. Like, Howell went all the way in the 5th round to Washington when he was being picked in pretty much every single one of our mock drafts that we did.
Yeah, and the fact that some other guys got drafted before, as you saw, Bailey Zappi went before Sam Howell. There was another one too, I thought.
Yeah, I forget
Well,
who.
it's interesting that Desmond Ridder went before Malik Willis.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And one guy that I'm surprised didn't get drafted at all was a guy that I was talking about all weekend. Carson Strong went undrafted, which I don't believe he's been picked up yet. If he has, I didn't see it.
yes, he has.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he has. To a fantastic team that has the greatest GM in the NFL. He's now he's a Philadelphia Eagle.
Okay. Maybe he's the future of the franchise there. But
yeah, there were injury concerns with Carson Strong, knee issues to be exact. Obviously,
still,
he's doing it, but
still though, I think I'd rather have him or take a chance on him. Like the 49ers, they had the Mr. Irrelevant pick. I think I would have rather gone with Carson Strong.
Mr. Purdy.
That's just my opinion, but
Brock Purdy's living it up in Disney right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so to go through the draft here, I feel like I'll take too much time, but I circled a bunch of I literally printed out the entire draft. It's 14 pages long, double spaced. But yeah, I circled a lot of guys that I liked, either actually that I liked or that were questionable. Starting off, Panthers, Ike Ekwonu at 6. Awesome. That made me happy that the Giants drafted Thibodeau at 5. Panthers had all the tackles available.
Mm-hmm.
I was very excited they did not go after a quarterback. Because like we were mentioning, Matt Rule's on thin ice right now, and you have to get players that are going to help you now. You can't afford to have a horrible season. You have to show improvement and build the roster, around Sam Darnold or a guy they got in the 3rd round, Matt Corral. I was excited, very excited about that trade up to end his slide. Which he was actually he was probably tied with Desmond Ridder for my 2nd favorite quarterback. I just wasn't that high on Malik Willis. Had some traits, but I like more sure things. Desmond Ridder had great leadership ability at Cincinnati. Just had some accuracy issues. The only issue really was with Matt Corral. Actually, there's 2 issues with Matt Corral. One was the simplicity of the playbook, I think, at Ole Miss. I don't think it was that complicated. And 2, injuries. He's been dinged up a little bit, but he's tough. He's probably the toughest quarterback in the draft class.
Yeah.
There was also stuff out there saying why he was falling because of some off the field stuff. But I don't know how much of that is true or not. So, next guy, I didn't circle him, but you probably want to talk about him. Your 1st round receiver, Mr. Wilson to Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, when I initially heard the pick, I was so about it because, well, had I known what was going to happen later on in the night, I wouldn't have been upset about the pick. but I wanted Johnson there at number 10. Jermaine Johnson at number 10. Like, I was full on. I wanted defense with both picks. Wide receiver, like, I thought was good enough, and they could have added a veteran. But I love the pick of Garrett Wilson. Obviously, Drake London had already gone off the board, which a lot of people, including us, were surprised about, because we had Wilson going to the Falcons at number 8 in our mock. But
Drake knew, though. Drake, the rapper, knew. He got $100,000 that Drake London would be the first receiver drafted. And he friggin' won $130,000 because of that.
Of course. But yeah, I mean, looking back on the weekend now after I've been able to soak it all in and decompress, I'm glad that the Falcons ended up taking Drake London and that Garrett Wilson fell to us. I'm not a big Drake London fan, and I believe that if it was the other way around, if Wilson did go to the Falcons, I think the Jets would have gone for Drake London. And so a lot of people are saying the Jets won the draft, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, and I kind of agree with it. They killed the first round, but yeah, and hopefully they can develop Wilson, well, both Wilsons, I should say. But yeah, I think Garrett Wilson will definitely be able to help out Zach Wilson and his development.
Yeah, I think especially for the first round, the Jets were clear winners. The next guy I am going to mention, Eagles defensive tackle Jordan Davis. It was a great trade. Great trade up by Howie Roseman, moving 2 picks. He traded 3 day 3 picks to move up 2 spots. So I think that was a good trade for him, not having to give up significant capital or future capital to move up, and to move up ahead of a team that everyone thought was going after Jordan Davis in the Ravens at 14. So yeah, I was very happy about that selection. We're going to need him. Fletcher Cox is probably his last year. So
yeah, obviously we'll never know, but just speaking of the Ravens, like, had a different player gone at number 13 overall, I wonder if they would have gone for Jordan Davis or if they would have stuck with Kyle Hamilton, because both of those guys right there are surprised. Maybe not Jordan Davis so much, but it was a surprise that Hamilton was still there at number 14.
I think they would have still selected Jordan Davis. I think they would have went after Jordan Davis with that one and then traded back up to get Kyle Hamilton if he kept falling, which I'm not so sure he would have past even the Eagles if they would have stayed at 15, because they needed safety help too. So I'm not so sure he would have even gotten after farther than 15 if the Ravens would have drafted Jordan Davis. But yeah, the Ravens, Kyle Hamilton, to go along with Tyler Linderbaum too. I mean, they were all awesome selections. The Kyle Hamilton, again, I didn't necessarily like the pick in terms of fit for the Ravens. I think they have good safeties already. I think they needed corner help, not safety help. I think maybe Kyle Hamilton could play a little bit of both, but I just didn't see the fit and the need. But you know, Eric DaCosta from that Ozzie Newsome scouting track. That's what the Ravens do. Best available player.
Yeah, it's not always about this year. Like, I don't know what the Ravens. Well, they just signed Marcus Williams to a long-term deal, and I can't think of what their other safety situation is.
Chuck Clark.
Yeah, I'm saying though, I don't know what his contract is or whatever else. So this was definitely more of a long-term solution rather than a pick for this year immediate impact. Not saying Hamilton won't have an immediate impact on the Ravens, because I think he will. But yeah, the Ravens are another team that just seemed to kill the whole weekend.
Yeah, and I forgot to say this when we were talking about the AJ Brown trade, but yeah, the crazy wide receiver offseason, AJ Brown's an Eagle, Marquise Brown, the Cardinal, Tyreek Hill's a Dolphin, Devontae Adams a Raider, Allen Robinson's a Ram, Amari Cooper's a Brown now, so that was just a random tweet I had. And also, another wide receiver didn't get traded, Debo, still out there. Apparently, the Jets offered the number 10 pick and a 5th rounder. That's it. Jets were lowballing the Niners.
Well, I had heard that there was a deal in place for the number 10 pick, but it was basically on hold until the Jets were on the clock at 10, and it depended on who was on the board. And clearly the Jets liked Garrett Wilson more than they would have Debo Samuel.
Oh, I forgot the other side to say the other side. So it was the number 10 and 5th. This was the funny part, I think, for Debo and a 2nd. Joe Douglas asking a lot.
I mean, Joe Douglas has been known to fleece some teams in trades, i.e. the Seahawks. But, yeah, that's an extreme trade even for him.
John Lynch hung up the phone real quick.
But, yeah, like I said, that's what I had heard, though, is that there was a deal in place. I don't know if there was other there probably was other pieces involved, but the two main pieces obviously were Debo and the number 10 pick. But then once the Jets were on the clock, they liked what they saw and they went with Garrett Wilson.
Okay, next guy I have circled. Commanders at 16, Jahan Dotson, wide receiver. Reason I have him circled is that was really early for Jahan Dotson. I didn't have to go until late first, maybe not even in the first.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I had him circled.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked when that happened too. And it's funny because my boss is a Washington fan. And prior to the draft, he was saying how he hoped that Hamilton fell to them. Well, he did. And they chose to trade back instead of selecting him.
Yeah.
And then they went with, like you said, a possible 2nd round talent in Jahan Dotson. And I mean, yes, wide receiver is another position that a lot of people had them picking. But it was one of the top tier guys, not Jahan Dotson.
I want to know where their size going to come from at wide receiver. Because Jahan Dotson's only 5'9". Terry McLaurin's not much bigger. I think Terry McLaurin's 6 foot flat.
I think so, yeah.
And Curtis Samuel's 5'10", I think.
Uh-huh.
So they have no size at the wide receiver position anyways. They signed Ricky Seals-Jones, or is that the Giants? Oh. I think they have a little bit of size at the tight end position. They still have Logan Thomas, obviously. I think Logan Thomas 6'3", 6'4". But I mean, they just don't have a big guy outside that can go up and get it. In terms of starting wide receivers, they have some guys that are bigger, that are like 4th, 5th, 6th wide receivers. But that is the question mark that I have with the Commanders wide receivers. Anyways, the next guy I have, Saints at 19, Trevor Penning. Excellent selection by the Saints. They waited on him at 19 and got the exact guy they needed, the last 1st round tackle. In terms of like, most people had him going in the 1st round. I think everyone had him in the 1st round. Obviously, Tyler Smith went later to Dallas, the last tackle taken in the 1st round. But, yeah, I think that was a perfect pick for Mickey Loomis.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't as high on it. Obviously, in our mock draft, I had the chance to draft him, and I didn't. But I hope that he ends up panning out and working out. But I just feel like he's too much of a project to kind of just shove in there right away.
Yeah, I was just checking on some of these the Washington receiver heights. So McLaurin's 6 foot. You got Curtis Samuel. I shortchanged Jahan Dotson. I apologize. Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson are both 5'11". De'Ami Brown is 6 foot. You got Dax Milne, who is also 6 foot. Your biggest guy in your top 6 right now is Cam Sims, who's 6'5". Then you got Antonio Gandy Golden at 6'4". Kelvin Harmon's a big boy too, 6'2". And we don't have to talk about the other guys. But yeah, I mean, going back to that, I think it's a question mark for Washington. Yeah, I shortchanged Logan Thomas too. He's 6'6". Cole Turner, who they drafted, 6'6" as well. And they got John Bates, who they drafted last year, 6'6". All 3 tight ends, 6'6". So Cole Turner's a guy that's intriguing, though. I think they can put him outside if they need to. Actually, no, they did draft him, I think, right? Yeah, 5th round. I couldn't remember if they drafted him or they picked him up undrafted. Next guy has to be Kenny Pickett. I mean, come on. The Steelers did exactly what the Patriots did last year with Mac Jones. They waited. They didn't panic. They saw, I think especially they knew, once the Panthers didn't draft the quarterback and the receiver run was on in the early teens, there weren't any other teams that were there that were going to draft the quarterback. And I said on draft night when we were live, I was telling Schneck, I was like, bro, if we have come all this way to get 19 picks in and he goes to the Saints at 19, I would have been heartbroken and devastated. So to get him all the way at 20, to wait it out, I think was a marvelous move. Kevin Colbert has now set up the Steelers for him to walk away and leaving the Steelers in a good situation at the most important position.
Yeah. Kind of going back to your point about the Patriots from last year, the only main difference with the Patriots last year and the Steelers this year is Mac Jones was the 3rd or 4th quarterback off the board. And the Steelers here, they had their pick of the bunch. Pickett was the first one off the board. So, I mean, it's very rare that you see that happen, especially at the quarterback position. So the Steelers, obviously that was a pick that everybody expected. Just a lot of people thought that they were going to have to trade up for it. The Steelers, though, they've been one of the best drafting teams in NFL history. Yeah. Like, I saw this video the other day, and it was some guy just counting down like the worst Steelers draft picks in NFL history or whatever, or the worst Steelers first round draft picks, I should say. And I guess he was doing multiple videos because there was only one pick on the video, and it was the number 5 pick. And it was Rashard Mendenhall was the 5th worst first round draft pick of the Steelers in NFL history. And Mendenhall was a pretty good running back for the Steelers.
Yeah.
So that just shows right there how good the Steelers have been. And yeah, so Kenny Pickett, it'll be interesting to see because I think Kenny Pickett is the only rookie quarterback, at least right now. Maybe Matt Corral kind of puts himself in the conversation a little bit, but I think Kenny Pickett's the only rookie quarterback right now that has a shot at starting.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't even know why they did that poll. Like I said, I couldn't watch the NFL Network broadcast, which I love to do. I love the NFL Network broadcast, but I didn't have NFL Network on cable this year, and you know me, I hate streaming. Especially the NFL app on my Roku just kicks me off sometimes a lot. So I was watching the ESPN broadcast all weekend, and they had a poll after I think it was after Matt Corral was drafted, and they put it up on the screen. It was who do you think is gonna I think it was make the most impact as a rookie. I was like, obviously Kenny Pickett's gonna win, and it was like 51% voted for Kenny Pickett. It's like, Desmond Ridder has almost zero shot at playing this year.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing for Malik Willis. Matt Corral and Kenny Pickett are really, like you said, the only two. And Kenny Pickett, obviously, Kenny Pickett's going to get a chance in training camp to beat Mitch Trubisky out.
Uh-huh.
So I'm excited to watch that. And I'm not even worried if Mitch Trubisky starts week 1. So next guy, the steal of the first round, your Jets, 26th overall, trading back up to get the falling Jermaine Johnson.
It was just I was in disbelief when I saw him still there at 26. And when they traded up to 26 before they announced the pick, I was like, in my head, I was like, there's no way that it's not Johnson, because the Jets were linked to Johnson so much. And I don't understand why he fell as far as he did.
Yeah, there were off the field concerns, I think, was one of the reasons.
But I saw that, but it wasn't like big off the field concerns, though. It was like something minor. I forget what it was.
Yeah, and I think there were question marks about why he transferred from Georgia to Florida State. And that was a part of it. I think some teams didn't like how his interviews went. So I think those were kind of the main concerns. But what did they give up for him again? Was
the
it
35th pick and like the 69th pick or whatever?
Okay.
Because that might have been the 69th pick. I think was in the Breece Hall trade. Because I know after the Breece Hall trade, they didn't have a pick for they traded up to 30. They traded to like 36 or whatever for Breece Hall, and then they didn't have another pick till pick like 101.
Yeah, so they got 26 and 101 from the Titans for 35, 69, and 163.
Uh-huh.
So pretty solid.
Yeah, so I mean, to come away with 3 top 10 talents in that draft, it was just crazy. Plus, like I said, they added Breece Hall there in the early second round.
Yeah, he's a guy I have able to.
Yeah,
as the first
so we'll
running
get to
back.
him.
But Daniel Jeremiah said that the Jets got 3 of his top 9 on his big board, which was crazy. Okay, last guy I circled in the first round. Patriots. We already kind of talked about this, but Chattanooga guard Cole Strange at 29 overall. We all had him in the third round. I was praying that the Panthers or Steelers were going to get him in the third round. And Sean McVay said something like that too, that he was hoping that he was going to be there at the Rams' first pick at 104 overall.
Yeah. I saw the video, and literally he was laughing at, like, I don't know if it was their press conference or whatever, but he was laughing, and he literally said, "We wasted our time looking at this guy because our first pick isn't until pick 107 or whatever it was."
104.
Like, yeah, 104. He's like, "We wasted our time looking at this guy because we thought that we had a good shot at getting him here at 104, but there he goes at number 29."
Yeah, I mean, that was just absolutely crazy. And again, it's hard to question Bill Belichick. It really is. But some of the picks he made in this draft were very questionable over drafting guys. He did it again in the second round, which we'll talk about that guy as well.
Well, he definitely was the closest GM to the movie Draft Day, because he kind of had the Vontae Mack no matter what mentality there.
Yeah, he did. And the thing is, he even traded back. He traded back 8 spots, and they still drafted him. Okay, next guy, second round, Packers. They finally get Aaron Rodgers a weapon. They traded up with the Vikings to 34. North Dakota State wide receiver Christian Watson. I loved the pick. One of my Packers friends, he texted me and asked me about Christian Watson. I was like, bro, you're getting a guy that is a potential number 1 wide receiver. I mean, he's big. He's 6'3", 6'4", fast. I think he runs a 4.4, and Aaron Rodgers is gonna get a good target in Christian Watson.
Well, the crazy part about Watson too is, for one, a lot of people had him going to the Packers with that 29 or 28 overall pick, and he slid into the second round, and the Packers were still able to get him. But it's just weird the way things work, because they could have had him in the first round, but like I said, they got him in the second round, which has been kind of the gold mine for them in the second round for wide receivers. That's where they got Devontae Adams. That's where they got Randall Cobb. That's where they got Jordy Nelson.
Yep.
And I think Donald Driver too might have been a second round pick. So they've had, especially recently, a string of really solid second round wide receivers come out of Green Bay.
Yeah,
and Watson might be another name on that list.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because he doesn't have to get new clothes.
Nope.
He's going from green and gold to green and gold.
Yep.
It's kind of like Kenny Pickett. He's going from blue and gold to black and gold.
Pickett really doesn't have to move because he played in Heinz Field in college anyway. So
yeah, everyone kept mentioning he's got to remember on the first day of rookie minicamp to not go right, to go left to the Steelers side of the building. Don't go to the right, Kenny. Don't go to the pit side anymore. Next guy, like I said, we're going to talk about Breece Hall, first running back off the board to your Jets at 46 overall. They traded back up to get him.
Yeah. This was another pick I was kind of so about. Obviously, everybody said Breece Hall is the best running back in the draft, and I do agree. However, there has been that stigma about running backs and how there's really no value at the position anymore. And a lot of people I've seen have kind of criticized the Jets for trading up, even if it wasn't for that much compensation. But I mean, yeah, when I had originally seen them trade up, I was hoping
that it was going to be for one of those linebackers. Obviously, I mean, you know how high I am, and I know you are too, because your team ended up drafting him. But I wanted Nakobe Dean, and I never in a million years expected him to slide all the way to 83. But, yeah, I wanted him there at, what was that, 36, 38, something like that.
Yeah. Brees Hall, we knew the Jets were going to draft a running back. Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I wanted, not saying that I'm against the pick of Brees Hall, because like I said, I think he was the best running back in the draft, and he's going to complement Michael Carter very well. I think the two of them are going to be a very solid two-headed monster in the backfield for the Jets. But I would have probably rather, I mean, granted, they used most of their late picks to do the trades up with, or for Johnson and for Brees Hall, but I would have rather them possibly kept their like 4th or 5th round pick and maybe gone after Wilson's former teammate with Tyler Algier.
Yeah.
That's just another avenue I could have seen them taking, that maybe that they could have gotten Algier and they could have gone with a different position here at 38 or whatever their original pick was there.
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about player comparisons for those two guys specifically, I think, what Brees Hall gives you is more of a dual purpose back, where he had, I think it was 52 receptions in college. So, he's good out of the backfield too. I think he's sneaky good out of the backfield, because really when I think about Brees Hall, I don't think about him being a pass catcher much. I think that's what's going to change in the role of Michael Carter coming up. You're going to see Michael Carter be more of the pass catcher and Brees Hall the pounder, because I think that's just how it would suit them better in that Mike McDaniel, or not Mike McDaniel,
LaFleur.
Mike LaFleur. Yeah. Mike McDaniel's Dolphins head coach. He was a 9 or 2, just like Saleh and all of them. So, but yeah, anyways. Next guy I have Seahawks, 41st overall, running back Kenneth Walker. I have him circled because it's questionable. I was like, what are the Seahawks doing? They have Chris Carson and Rashad Penny already. Now I understand neither has been like a superstar. Carson with injuries, Penny with injuries. But Chris Carson, when he's been on the field, despite his fumbling issues, which I think Pete Carroll gets pissed off at a lot, but despite that, Chris Carson has been an effective back. When you think about, they drafted him in the 7th round. And Rashad Penny has been a severe bust until you look at his last 5 games of the season, where he ran for 600 plus yards in 5 games. So the Kenneth Walker selection, I thought, was weird for the Seahawks, especially in the 2nd round. Like you, I thought if they were going to draft one, do it on day 3, because you need so many more positions of need than running back at this point.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with this too, is that the Seahawks are one of the main rebuilding teams at this point. Like, there's them, there's the Falcons, and then there's the Texans and Lions, I think, are like the main group of rebuilding teams still. So to get a guy like Kenneth Walker, especially so early, was very questionable. And like you said, they needed so many other positions. Again, I guess they believe in Drew Lock, at least for this year, or they're banking on getting a better quarterback next year, because they didn't really prioritize that too much.
Yeah, they were one of the teams that didn't draft a quarterback, like the Lions, who we thought both were going to get one in this draft at some point. but neither one drafted a quarterback. Gonna wait till next year. I think the Lions obviously did a lot better job of building their team around Goff this year, and what quarterback they get next year. I don't know if the Seahawks can say the same. Next guy, 2 picks later, 43rd overall. This is another questionable pick, just because of how high he went. Giants selected Kentucky wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson. There were a lot of other guys on the board still that had higher grades by many other people. When you look at the guys who went later, we'll talk about George Pickens. 9 selections later, you had Alec Pierce was still on the board, who went to the Colts at 53. Sky Moore went to the Chiefs at 54. I think those were the main guys that were still there when you think about the second tier of receivers. And I didn't. Jalen Tolbert went in the 3rd round, but I think I included him with the second tier of guys. But yeah, it was a bit of a reach, I think, for the Giants at 43 for Robinson there. The next guy I had circled here, 45th overall. The Ravens got a steal. Michigan defensive end or edge rusher David Ojabo. Coming off the torn Achilles and during training for the draft, not going to play most of the year. Might be able to help them if they can get to the playoffs. But that's the first round talent getting in the mid-second round. I don't know if you had anything on Robinson. I know you stepped away there when you're talking about
Yeah, sorry. Well, yeah, the Wan'Dale Robinson thing, you already kind of mentioned it all. Like, they had a lot of other options on the board. And that pick to me was, I want to say, almost worse than Washington going with Jahan Dotson in the first round. Because I think that Wan'Dale Robinson was definitely towards the bottom of that second tier of wide receivers, or even the third tier.
Yeah, I think he was in the 3rd. Yeah.
So, yeah, to pick him over guys like Sky Moore and George Pickens was insane to me. But at the same time, the Giants have not been the best at drafting wide receivers over the last 2 years. Like, the last time they hit it wide receiver, I think, was Odell, and that was like a decade ago at this point.
Yeah, it's funny because they're kind of like Washington in the fact that they don't have many tall receivers. Kenny Golladay, obviously, big boy, but Darius Slayton, 6'1", but Shepard, Tony, and Robinson, all 6 foot and under. And it's also weird that they drafted Robinson, who's going to be a slot. I think he can play outside. I think he can, but I think he's more of a slot where he's quick off the line and can go in any direction. When they already have guys like Sterling Shepard and Kadarius Toney. So,
yeah, the Giants don't. They had a good first round, but after that, I don't know. They had a weird draft. But yeah, the other guy that you mentioned though while I was away, Ojabo, he was obviously a first round talent. Many projecting him. I don't even know where. I know it was probably in the mid, maybe even early first round in some mock drafts. But if he does come back from that Achilles injury and doesn't have any future issues with it, the Ravens got a steal.
Yeah. Next one I have is 50th overall, another questionable receiver. I don't know if we have to spend too much time because we already kind of said the reasoning for Robinson with the Giants, but Tyquan Thornton to the Patriots. I know there were rumors of teams having grades on him that were higher than people expected, because I did think that he was gonna go in maybe not the second round, but the third round because he's a speedster, 4.28 40. And it's just drafting for that trade essentially.
Yeah, I mean, in that scenario, when I saw that pop up on my screen, it didn't really faze me because it was the Patriots who had already made a questionable call on day one with Cole Strange. So I was just like, okay, like Belichick is just losing his mind. And me as a Jets fan, I was happy to not see like George Pickens or Sky Moore on that spot because I was expecting one of them to pop up. But when neither one of those guys was in that spot, I was like, okay, that's fine by me.
And I mean, yeah, the Patriots definitely needed wide receiver when you look at who they have now. Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, and Tyquan Thornton, N'Keal Harry still there. I don't know. Why are they listing Ty Montgomery as a wide receiver? He hasn't been a wide receiver for 5 years or however long. I don't know.
He's hardly played on offense in general in 5 years.
True.
But yeah, he's a running back. Well, no, wasn't he a wide receiver that then he transitioned to running back?
Yeah, and the league gave him an exception to still wear 88.
Yeah.
But next
yeah.
one I have here is another 2 picks later. Another receiver. Steelers wide receiver, George Pickens. Absolutely loved it, man. I mean, the first 2 days for my 3 teams, I was ecstatic about how it went. I wasn't too excited about the center Cam Jurgens to the Eagles in the second round, but I liked why they did that. But now, I mean, I was saying this on I think night 1, or maybe I was talking to someone while I was driving for Uber this weekend. But when you look at the Steelers offense, they are set up. If they just get some offensive linemen and improve that, I mean, this offense is set up for the next 5 years. At least you have Kenny Pickett at quarterback, Najee Harris at running back, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, George Pickens are your top 3 receivers. And then you have Pat Freiermuth at tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the skill positions are loaded for Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, wait. So is Pickens the number 3 right now?
Yes.
Okay. Because, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Pittsburgh receiving core as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, there's some issues when you look at depth. But as far as starters go.
Yeah. I know that Deontay Johnson's the number 1. I just don't really believe in him as a number 1. I think Pickens eventually could overtake that role, but obviously not this year. But yeah, I think that the Pickett to Pickens connection is going to be very special down the road.
Yeah, and I think it sets up well because you're going to see Chase Claypool and George Pickens outside with Deontay Johnson in the slot where I think he's more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he had to play more outside this past season, and it wasn't really his style of play. He's a lot better in the slot, and I think that's good. I think that was a big reason of why they didn't try to re-sign Juju again to another 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Because Juju plays in the slot, and I think that's where Johnson is more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I mean, I think the jury's still out on Claypool, too, because he did kind of take a step back in year 2. Because, I mean, you're the Pittsburgh fan. You watched all the Steelers games, so you know better than I do. But I feel like they didn't use him in, like, the trick plays as much as they did in his rookie year, so.
Yeah. For sure. Next one, 3 picks later here, 55th overall. Cardinals took the first tight end of the draft, which again I thought was weird. They have Hurts, but they give Kyler Murray another weapon. Trey McBride Colorado State to Arizona. I mean, yeah, it was just weird.
Yeah, it was a weird pick, especially since they also have Max Williams too still.
And they needed stuff too.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, McBride. Again, this might have had some indication with the whole DeAndre Hopkins thing, even though it's not the same position, but they're down a player, so maybe they go more 2 tight end sets or something and have McBride and Ertz out there at the same time or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think for one, they wanted to keep Kyler Murray happy. That's why they drafted a
Well, that's it, yeah.
And for two, I think that Cliff Kingsbury is going to run the ball more this season. You're going to see a James Conner run the ball more, and they drafted a running back too, I think, right?
I believe so.
Look at their depth chart here. I feel like I'm relying on depth charts way too much. Oh yeah, they drafted Keontae Ingram on day 3. That's right. Next one here, another 3 picks later. Montana State linebacker Troy Anderson to the Falcons. He's my boy. You know, I love Troy Anderson pre-draft. Going to a spot where he's going to have a great opportunity to start right away in Atlanta. On a defense that looks a lot better now after the draft. You know, they have Anderson slated as a backup right now. Deion Jones, Rashawn Evans, Lorenzo Carter. For some godforsaken reason, they have D'Angelo. Why? Why do you have D'Angelo Malone slated as the backup Sam linebacker in a 4-3? D'Angelo Malone is by no chance playing off-ball linebacker at 6'4". He's the right size for a linebacker, 6'4", 240. But there is no way. Oh wait, no, never mind. That makes sense. No, never mind. I forgot the Falcons are on a 3-4. My bad. For some reason, I was only seeing 3 linebackers and not 4. Never mind. That makes sense. But yeah, Troy Anderson back up to Rashawn Evans right now, anyways. Could push, I think. If not, he'll start next year. Because I think Evans is only on a 1-year deal. So, but yeah. I was disappointed that one of my teams didn't get him, but
your team's got enough of your players, though.
Huh?
I said your team's got enough of the players that you like, though. So.
Yeah. Another 3 picks later here. Questionable pick. So the Niners' first selection came at 61st overall. USC edge rusher Drake Jackson. It was sort of my thinking with the Seahawks. I was like, bro, what? Why? You have a million defensive ends in San Francisco already. Why are you drafting another one?
Well, yeah, I don't know. John Lynch has been very unconventional with his drafting. So, but, I mean, it's worked so far, so I can't question it too much.
Has it worked? How many Super Bowls have the Niners won?
But they made it a lot further last year than people expected. And the year before, I don't like using injuries as an excuse, but that was 2 years ago when they all went down with injury. So that's not entirely his fault. You can't really control that. But yeah, I think he's done a decent job. But yeah, that was a questionable decision to draft a defensive end when you don't have that many draft picks in this draft as it is.
Yeah, especially I think they needed linebacker help. They needed corner help big time. And wide receiver help too. But now, and the thing is they re-signed Jordan Willis, and they signed Kerry Hyder and Kamoko Toure in free agency. So I don't know. That one was just questionable, especially because it was their first pick of the draft. 2 picks later, 63rd overall, Bills get their running back James Cook to Buffalo. Will be a dynamic piece for Sean McDermott. And I don't remember who their new offensive coordinator is, but isn't it Ken Dorsey?
It might be, yeah. But yeah, when that selection happened, I remember watching it, and they cut to the feed of him at his house with his brother Dalvin, the running back for the Vikings, and the rest of his family. He didn't look too happy about being selected by Buffalo. I don't know why he wouldn't be happy about it, because Buffalo is one of the best teams in the entire league, for one.
Yeah.
Especially on offense. And he has a solid chance at being a premier piece of that offense. So, I don't know. It was just weird to cut to that reaction, and he really had no expression on his face whatsoever.
Yeah, I think part of it was he's like, crap, I got to go play in the cold now. I was playing at Georgia in the heat all my entire career. And also, he's going to a pretty loaded backfield when you look at it. They are 4 deep right now at running back with Singletary himself, Moss, and Duke Johnson as well.
I mean, a lot of the experts, though, after the selection were saying that Moss is essentially the odd man out in this situation now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So,
which is weird. It's weird because he was, his second-round draft pick 2 years ago. But I really didn't want the Bills to draft a running back. You know me, I love Devin Singletary. He was outstanding for them down the stretch. His last 7 games were very good. But Bills wanted more. So, all right, to the 3rd round. I know this is taking a lot of time, but I love it. The Seahawks. Now, see, this pick I loved from the Seahawks. They got Charles Cross at 9, and they get their right tackle here at 72. Offensive tackle Abraham Lucas out of Washington State. I thought they got 2 bookends in one draft, which will help protect Drew Lock or Geno Smith or whoever this season. So I thought they did great getting both of those tackles, and especially Lucas here at 72.
Yeah, it was good of them to do that. It's just crazy that it took them until the post-Russell Wilson era to do this. That was one of the main problems with the Seahawks during Russell Wilson's tenure there.
Yeah.
So just the fact that they do it literally the season he left. I don't think Drew Lock is definitely not as mobile as Russell Wilson was. So maybe that plays a little bit of a factor in it too, because Wilson did run himself into some of those sacks because he is so mobile, but still, that offensive line in general was still really bad.
So I don't know. Maybe with a good offensive line,
Drew Lock actually might look decent in that offense. Who knows?
But yeah, that was a good pick by them.
2 picks later here, we got 4 picks and I have 4 circled and 6 picks right here. There's a good section of the draft in the 3rd round. After the 3rd round, there's not as many players circled. The Falcons, they go get their quarterback, Desmond Ridder. Kind of talked about him already. Not going to play much this year, unless that's the thing, though. He could. We've seen Mariota have injury issues before, both in Tennessee and in Vegas.
But
it's been
is
soft
he
too.
Is he currently the backup though, or is that Frank's?
I would think he'd be the backup. I don't think Felipe Franks is going to give Ritter anything in camp.
Yeah, but I'm just right now though, I'm just thinking like if I were the Falcons at least, I wouldn't want Ritter seeing the field at all this year. So I would sacrifice, unless it was maybe towards the end of the season for a little bit of NFL experience, whatever. But I would not want him being the starter at all this season. I'd rather throw Franks in the fire and let him kind of take the snaps and take the hits and just let Ritter learn from the sideline.
I'm on the opposite end. I think that Desmond Ritter was the second most ready quarterback, and I think he was the only other quarterback that would be ready enough to play this season because of how much experience he had at Cincinnati. I think he was a 3-year starter, maybe even 4. And I think he's one of the smarter quarterbacks of the draft class too. So I wouldn't have an issue with him playing this year if he has to. Like I said, Mariota has had injuries before, and they have been the soft tissue type of injuries where it's a hamstring or a quad, So I would not be surprised if Desmond Ritter plays this season. 2 picks later, 76th overall, Ravens, again, killing the draft. They were one of the best teams of the draft this year. Travis Jones, nose tackle out of UConn. I liked him in the second round. I liked him. I was talking to Schneck when we were talking about, because his Bucks didn't make a pick on night 1 because they traded back with the Jags to 33rd. I was talking to him about what the Bucks could possibly do at 33, and I was like, bro, Travis Jones at 33 would have been perfect. They haven't re-signed Ndamukong Suh yet. They needed a defensive tackle to slide in beside Vita Vea and to pair with him and William Golston on the interior 3. I thought Travis Jones would have been perfect there. But the Ravens didn't get Jordan Davis in round 1, but they get probably, I would say, probably the best nose tackle of the draft. Outside, Jordan Davis going to play defensive tackle with the Eagles, not nose because they run a 4-3. But yeah, Travis Jones is a great pick by the Ravens.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Like I said, we've said it multiple times. The Ravens were one of the best teams in this draft, and they seem to focus. I mean, 3 out of the 4 picks we talked about from them already were all defense. The only other one was Linderbaum on the line, which, that was a good pick in itself. But yeah, Travis Jones, defensive tackle, he's going to go right in there with Calais Campbell for this year. And it's kind of funny because pre-draft, a lot of people were saying that the Ravens were going to go and get I'm blanking, the defensive tackle in the first round.
Jordan Davis.
Yes, Jordan Davis. Thank you. And I think it was Daniel Jeremiah that said, just imagine, seeing the Ravens get off the bus and just seeing Jordan Davis and Calais Campbell walking off the bus together. Well, it's not Jordan Davis, but it's still the same scenario. I think it'll be awesome to see him on that defensive line.
Yeah, they got some dudes up front. Calais Campbell, Michael Pierce, Justin Matabike, Derek Wolfe, Travis Jones. And then the next pick after that, Colts, 77th, offensive tackle Bernard Ryman, Central Michigan. The issue with that pick, as much as I love it for the Colts, Ryman is not considered a left tackle. Yeah, so they have on ESPN right now him slated as the backup left tackle. I'm not so sure he's a left tackle, though. Might have to play there. But, yeah, I wasn't so sold. I love the pick, though. I do like the pick. Not so sold he's a right tackle or left tackle.
I mean, I can't think of their depth on the entire line off the top of my head, but
I have it in front of me if you want.
well, I'm just saying, like, do they have somebody that they could slide over to left and then put him at right?
No, because Braden Smith has been a good find in the draft for them at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time seeing Braden Smith play left.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he could. I think Ryman definitely could play left tackle. It's just I don't see him as a left tackle.
Well, who's their starter right now at left tackle?
Matt Pryor, former Eagle.
Yeah, I mean,
He's more of a guard.
yeah. It's just weird that they haven't invested more in that left tackle position, considering that they have Matt Ryan there now,
Your boy's still
who doesn't
out
really
there.
have an injury history, but he is up there in age. So
Your boy's still out there.
yeah, re-sign him. Get Fisher on the phone right now.
Okay, 6 picks later, let's talk about it. My boy, Nakobe Dean to the Eagles at 83. I mean, talk about value.
That's going to be an incredible steal if that shoulder doesn't turn out to be an issue.
Yeah.
But
so
that's why he slid like 60 spots or whatever.
Right. Reasoning. There was a torn labrum in Georgia when he was at Georgia. He also, while training for the draft, had a severe pec strain. Some teams thought he needed surgery, opted to not get surgery. And the Eagles, they said he's not going to need surgery and that he will be a full go at rookie minicamp. So as far as it sounds from the Eagles, and that's what I was, I think I read something about it. And, they were thinking of picking him in the second round. And they didn't. They went with Cam Jurgens instead. And then, they kept seeing him fall. And they're like, all right. And that's the thing. Howie Roseman said, he kept checking with the team doctors to see if they were okay with it. And they were. So, as far as the Eagles doctors are concerned, they're fine with his pec and shoulder. And the thing, Nakobe Dean never missed a game at Georgia either. So obviously he can play through it if he needs to, if it is an actual injury. But I don't think it's going to be an issue. The Eagles don't think it's an issue. And I think the Eagles got a steal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's insane that he fell as far as he did, even with the concerns. Like, I thought that the concerns were going to push him maybe to like the 40s or 50s, not all the way up to the 80s.
2 picks later here, Patriots. Now, this is the first Patriots pick that I actually liked. I was in love with Marcus Jones, man. He was awesome, and I thought he was maybe gonna slide into the second round, possibly. Falls all the way to 85 with the Patriots, and they got a slot corner, man. They got a slot corner that is gonna be one of the best returners in the NFL.
Yeah, I was upset with this pick because, as you said, this is the first Patriots pick that I actually liked as well. I had started to really get into Marcus Jones because I had seen him mocked to the Jets a lot in those middle rounds. And, I mean, obviously we got Sauce Gardner, so I'm not as upset as I would have been. But, yeah, in a lot of the mock drafts where we didn't go and get Gardner and we took a different position at number 4 and even number 10, yeah, he was mocked to us at, like, the 3rd. Sometimes I saw him even falling all the way to the 5th, which obviously the Jets didn't have those picks at that point. But, yeah, I hate this pick because I like it.
Yeah, and I have no idea why they have him slotted as the 5th corner right now. I think he's going to end up being their day 1 slot corner.
Uh-huh. Yeah, with the depth that they have, he needs to be a starter.
He is minuscule, though. 5'8", 185.
I mean, he's clearly got the speed and quickness and agility.
He plays big, man. He'll tackle you.
Yeah.
Next pick, Malik Willis, 86 to the Titans, ended the fall. I think they traded up for him, didn't they?
I don't remember.
Let me see on the. I have the trades up here. Yes, yeah, they traded up 4 spots to get him. Just sent a 5th rounder to the Raiders. But yeah, I think it's a good pick, especially at this point. You know, they needed a future. Ryan Tannehill obviously doesn't have that many years left. He's 33. So I think it's I think realistically, Malik Willis could almost follow the Aaron Rodgers plan. And I could see a situation where Malik Willis sits for 2 years.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill retires at 35. And, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this pick because I'm not really a big Malik Willis fan as it is. And like, I don't know, I feel like his style of play doesn't fit the scheme of the Titans. Maybe it's just because of what I've seen or whatever, but I definitely think that they'd be much more suited with like a pocket passer type of quarterback.
Well, it's funny because they didn't really have that type of quarterback for years. You know, when you look at who they had, you know, you go back to Steve McNair, Vince Young, Marcus Mariota, and even, I mean, Tannehill runs every once in a while now too.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were big questions with Malik Willis in terms of the offense that he played in at Liberty was very simplistic. I was talking about Matt Corral's offense being simple. At Liberty, I heard there were like plays that were just like one word. You know, like that's how simple it was in that offense. So he's got a big learning curve in order to learn NFL language and play language. But like I said, I think it's a good situation. He's not a first-round pick. Out of the spotlight, he'll be able to put his head down, work, develop in that Titans offense, and we'll see him down the road.
It's funny you say out of the spotlight. Like, I still don't think he is because he was sometimes projected as like the number 1 quarterback off the board and stuff. And it's not like he went to a team where the quarterback position is completely secured, because there's been a lot of questions and a lot of turmoil with Tannehill. So I think there's going to be a lot of times this season where the announcers or the analysts or whoever else say, like, what about Malik Willis?
Well, and that's what, you know, we saw Logan. Logan had Malik Willis going to the Titans at 26.
Yeah.
So, which is funny. We maybe should have gave him a half a point for that one. But next one's the next quarterback, 94 to the Panthers, Matt Corral. I loved it, man. I was very excited. Like I said, I had Matt Corral kind of tied with Desmond Ridder as my second favorite quarterback. And I was very happy. The Panthers traded up to get him. They traded their 4th rounder, 137, and a 3rd rounder next year. So still are limited in the amount of picks they have next year. That was a big thing with Scott Fitterer. He didn't want to pay massive amounts of future draft capital to go get a quarterback. And he didn't, you know, a 3rd rounder, not terrible. It was, you know, not a 1st or 2nd. So it wasn't terrible draft capital he had to pay to get him. And I think it's going to be a good situation. Like we mentioned, he could play this year possibly if Sam Darnold struggles again.
If he's going to.
He has a left tackle now, okay?
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. He's still Sam Darnold.
And McCaffrey's coming back again.
For like 2 games. But no. Yeah, Corral, I think, was one of my favorite picks in this draft just because of the value in itself.
Yeah.
Because just like you, I had Corral probably in my top 3 quarterbacks in the draft. And yeah, we'll have to see how things work out this year, but I definitely think that, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that he has to sit behind somebody like Sam Darnold. But I think regardless, I think sitting will benefit for him and letting him like learn on the sidelines and develop that way. But yeah, like we've been saying, I won't be surprised though if he does see the field this year. And also, I think that the selection of Matt Corral kind of puts to bed the Baker Mayfield rumors too.
It exactly does that. The Panthers said they have no interest in Baker Mayfield anymore.
Nope. Although I still would have loved to see that because that would have meant that Baker and Sam Darnold were teammates and they were the first 2 quarterbacks off the board in 2018. 18.
Yeah. Next one here, 102 overall, the Dolphins' first pick of the draft. Was a great one. And it's funny, someone commented on all my mock drafts that I had on the Dolphins mock draft. It's funny, someone commented and they're like, holy crap, bro, you got the Dolphins' first pick right at 102 overall in my Dolphins 7-round mock. And yeah, I had Georgia linebacker Channing Tindall going to the Dolphins, apparently. And I love it, man. He was the 3rd linebacker there for Georgia. And like I mentioned to some people, some people thought Channing Tindall was maybe even better than Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. So I think the Dolphins got an awesome pick with their first selection of the draft, all the way down at the end of the 3rd round.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great pickup for them. Obviously, it's pretty much throw the dart at the wall and whatever Georgia player you hit, like you're getting a win no matter what because they had so many players in this draft. I hope that analysis isn't right, though. I really hope that he's the 3rd linebacker of the trio. But, yeah, it was a solid pick, nice value for them. And we'll have to see how that shapes out. But, yeah, it was a good pick for them.
So going into the 4th round here, just real quick, you mentioned how many players Georgia had. Georgia had, I heard it's an NFL record, 15. But ESPN
I thought it was tied.
ESPN said that in 84, Texas had 17. So I don't actually know what's true. But regardless, you want to know a crazy thing when I just did the calculation? Georgia accounted for 5.7% of draft picks this year. 15 out of 262.
Wait, did you say
the drafts?
Did you say Texas was the record though?
That's what they said in 84.
It's ironic that Texas was the record because they had absolutely 0 picks this year.
True. Yeah, I was hoping Cameron Dicker would get selected. But yeah, 4th round here, Kobe Bryant, 109 to the Seahawks. He was the Jim Thorpe Award winner this past year.
And that was the Jets selection as well. That was part of the Jamal Adams trade, I believe.
Yeah, so that was a pick that I really liked from the Seahawks. Like I said, their Kenneth Walker selection was so-so, but like, love the Abraham Lucas pick. Charles Cross pick was great. And then Kobe Bryant here in the 4th round, I thought was good value. And like I said, he won the award for being the top corner in college football last year. Because everyone was throwing at him, not Sauce Gardner. But he was good.
Yeah.
He was very good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's solid value. Obviously, Yeah, he had most of the workload on that Cincinnati defense. Like you said, he was Sauce Gardner's teammate, and nobody threw over there very often. So Kobe Bryant was defending most of the passes, and yeah, again, I feel like I broke a record, but it's a solid value for that pick that they got.
Yeah, next pick, Daniel Fa'alele, Ravens. How many times we got to talk about Ravens picks?
I'm mad about this one too.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I texted you about it when it happened. I was so mad that the Ravens went and got him here because the Jets have the next pick. And I was like, okay, Fa'alele. We had him mocked to the Jets a few times in the third round, or I don't think we ever got him in the second, but yeah, in the third round. And then here we are, him sitting here, and the Ravens go out and take him. And that's a solid pickup for them. They already went and got Linderbaum. Now they got Fa'alele too. They're building a nice, solid, young offensive line there.
Yeah, so Morgan Moses is the right tackle right now. Fa'alele slotted at his backup. But yeah, they got some pieces on the offensive line. And thing is, Fa'alele is the perfect guy for them to go after because he's a mauler. He's 6'8", I think 330 or something like that. And it was funny because someone mentioned, who does Fa'alele remind you of? Like Orlando Brown. Who they already traded away. So
there seems to be a lot of that in this year's draft too, is the players got like compared to the players that they are essentially replacing.
Yeah. Next one, 122, Georgia. I mentioned this one talking about Raiders. Raiders got Zamir White to potentially be their future back. Pick up Josh Jacobs' fifth-year option.
Yeah, I think that was part of the reason why they declined his option too, is that they got Zamir White. I mean, there's still a chance that Jacobs destroys it this year and earns another contract with the Raiders, but I think Zamir White's definitely a good backup plan, or he still might be their plan A, and they might. Well, I don't know what they would do with Josh Jacobs, but yeah, Zamir White. Obviously, you know a lot more about him.
Zeus.
But yeah.
Again, he's another Georgia running back that's going to a pretty loaded backfield already, though. They have Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, and they also signed Brandon Bolden as well. So, 4 deep there at running back for the Raiders.
Yeah, but you'd have to think that he'd be slotted in as the number 3 ahead of Bolden.
Right, he is. But I just don't know how much he's going to play this year with Drake and Jacobs still there. Cade York, 124 to the Browns. We mentioned this. First specialist off the board. And the Browns are taking a play out of the Bengals playbook from last year, drafting Evan McPherson. Browns are like, well, we got to get our own rookie kicker. Apparently it works out for you. So we'll see. Cade York, pretty good. I didn't know if there were really any – I didn't think there were any kickers that were really eligible to go. I knew the punters were going to go. I just didn't know there was any kickers there.
Yeah, there was no Evan McPhersons in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, Cade York, though, he's got a booming leg. The biggest moment, obviously, him hitting the 55-yarder in the fog against Florida was the big moment of his last season. But yeah,
well, unless Cade York does the same thing that Evan McPherson did last year, like unless Cade York carries the Browns through the playoffs, I'm not impressed with this pick.
Evan McPherson set too high of a rookie kicker bar. And also, they said he was the highest kicker drafted since Juan Roberto Aguayo in the second round.
Yep.
The
greatest Buccaneers pick ever.
Was that 2016 or 17, something like that?
Something like that.
Next one, Jordan Stout, punter. Who did he go to? Oh, yeah, the frickin' Ravens. It's another Ravens pick, man. We cannot get off of it.
Nope.
And he's gonna slot in as their. That's the thing. That was a questionable pick, though. I thought they have Sam Cook has been there for a long time. But what I do think they saw is Jordan Stout had the biggest leg of any of the punters in the draft. He can smash it. So maybe they wanted more of that. Sam Cook's older. And, maybe we'll see a punter battle in Baltimore this offseason. Yeah, Sam Cook, 16th season, drafted by the Ravens in 06.
I didn't realize he was in the league for that long.
Oh, yeah. He's been there a while. Justin Tucker undrafted in 2012. All right. Packers, their second receiver they got, Romeo Doubs, 132nd overall. Loved it. Romeo Doubs, Nevada. Great pick by the Packers. He's going to be a guy that's going to be maybe fourth receiver kind of guy that is going to give them some production and depth. Patriots here, interesting selection. 137th. Bailey Zappi, my boy, has found a home in the NFL. I do not like where he went. He's not going to get much playing time behind Mac Jones, but I do think he will have a shot at beating Brian Hoyer.
I mean, it'll be tough though, being that Brian Hoyer has been there like what, 4 times now, 5 times,
Mr. Patriot.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a very questionable draft overall for the Patriots. Again, that's another central theme of this draft. We've said it many times, but the Bailey Zappi literally provides no value for the Patriots, especially right now. So I don't like the pick at all.
Yeah, the hope is that he develops into someone that someone else wants and they can use him as a trade chip.
I mean, that's what they've done with plenty of other quarterbacks in the past, so who knows? But still, I think it's a wasted pick.
Pretty much. But it is my boy Zappi. Love it. Ravens again. This one I was pissed off about. 139th overall. They take Coastal Carolina tight end Isaiah Likely. First of all, I love Isaiah Likely. I was hoping the Panthers were going to get him. Second of all, they didn't need him. They had already drafted Charlie Kohler earlier. They drafted 2 tight ends to go behind Mark Andrews.
Yeah. I don't know why Likely fell so much, though. He was a lot of people's favorite tight end or second or third tight end, but
because he doesn't block.
Yeah, well, not all tight ends do. A lot of the good pass catching ones don't. But I had texted in the group chat too. Likely and Andrews are about to be the next Gronk and Hernandez.
Well, I texted in the group chat, I don't think he's going to play tight end. I think he's going to play receiver for the Ravens. He's a 6'6". What is he? He is 6'4", 240. I think if he's, maybe he needs to slim down. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. But to play outside, I mean, receiver depth chart in Baltimore is not the greatest. And the thing is, they're going to have to keep 4 tight ends on the roster because they already have their blocking tight end who they signed to an extension, I think last year or 2 years ago. Nick Boyle. Nick Boyle is their blocking tight end. And they love him. So you're going to have to keep 4. Commanders, first pick of the 5th round. Carson Wentz is shaking in his boots. They picked North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell. So yeah, we'll see who comes out. Sam Howell's going to give Taylor Heineke competition at the backup spot. I don't know if he can beat him out at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, but I still think that Howell will stick around, obviously. And I think ultimately Howell in the end will take over as the starter, not this year, and maybe not even next year, but I think Howell will eventually become the starter. I'm still shocked that Howell was there in the fifth round.
Yeah, me too. Bills 148. Khalil Shakir, love it. I mean, that is a pick from Buffalo and Brandon Beane. He is a guy, first of all, that can give you return ability. And second of all, I think he's going to slot in nicely with this receiving core. They run 6 deep at receiver right now. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Jamison Crowder, Isaiah McKenzie, Khalil Shakir, and Marquez Stevenson.
Yeah.
That's a core right there.
Yeah, it's a scary receiving room right there. And an already loaded offense. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know if he's going to make that big of an impact on the offense right now, but like you said, he has some return ability, so we'll see if he can make his mark there. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that pick because of what team he went to.
And they got Jake Kumro, too. Seahawks. Another great – I like the Seahawks draft overall, besides the Kenneth Walker pick, because they got a corner in the 5th round who I thought was going to be a 3rd-round pick. Tariq Woolen out of UTSA, to get him at 153rd overall was massive value for Seattle. And while they try to rebuild their corner room.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the surprises of the draft too. Like you said, he had 3rd-round value, and somehow he was there in the 5th. So the Seahawks again get a steal there, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, questionable value here questionable pick on this next one. Jerome Ford to the Browns, 156th overall. It was just like the Seahawks where I was like, bro, why? Why are you drafting a running back? Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, and Dearness Johnson, and now Jerome Ford. Whatever.
Do they still have Felton too? Isn't he a running back?
No, he's a wide receiver. I think they list him as a running back, but yeah, because he's not listed as a wideout on here. But yeah, Demetric Felton is definitely a wide receiver. Bucks next pick, 157th, just like Tariq Woolen, Zion McCollum out of Sam Houston State. I thought was a guy that could have possibly went late day 2. But even getting him in the 5th, I thought still he had at the very worst 4th-round value. So I thought the Bucks did a great job of picking him up here in the 5th round. Next one, 176th. The Cowboys get LSU linebacker Damone Clark, had the spinal fusion surgery on his neck. Not going to play this year, obviously, but the Cowboys are hoping 2023 and beyond that he can be a linebacker to pair in there with his former teammate in Jabril Cox and Micah Parsons.
Yeah, for obvious reasons, he fell to the 5th round, but if he was healthy and whatnot, I think he would have won much earlier.
Yeah.
And obviously, like you said, we'll have to wait a year to see how this pans out, but if he ends up being what they expect him to be, then this is possibly even more of a steal in this draft over Nakobe Dean or David Ojabo or any of the other guys that have fallen pretty far.
Last pick of the 5th round, 179th, the Packers. They get a steal, South Carolina D-end Kingsley Enagbare. That was a guy we had in our mocks going late third sometimes. So Packers needed help on the pass rush that they lost Darius Smith to free agency. So get some depth behind Gary and Preston Smith. Okay. Here's where I got pissed off. 180th overall, the first pick in the 6th round. Bills take Matt Ariza, punter out of San Diego State. The punt god. He was the 3rd punter off the board, and it's crazy because Mel Kiper got the punter rankings exactly correct. He had Jordan Stout 1, Jake Camarda 2, and Ariza 3, which that's the exact order they went. But yeah, the reason I was pissed off about this, first off, I wanted the Eagles to draft him in the 4th round. Second off, the Eagles traded down from their 4th round pick or their 5th round pick, whatever it was, to the 6th round. And then they traded back up to 182nd or 181st. I mean, the pick right after the Bills took Ariza. So I don't know if the Eagles traded up to get Ariza, thinking that he was still going to be there and the Bills weren't going to take him, or if they actually traded up for Kyron Johnson, who they got. But I was very disappointed. Aaron Sipos sucks, and we need a new punter.
Yeah, punters are people too. So, I just obviously punter was not really a concern of mine in this draft, but it was just funny to see you react to what happened in that 6th round there. And I hope for both of our sakes, though, that he is not as good of a punter as we think he is, because he did go to one of my division rivals in the Bills. So, and the Bills stole your pick. So, yeah, we're both not Ariza fans at this point.
Well, your other division rival continued to make questionable selections throughout the draft, because the next Patriots pick, 183rd overall, Kevin Harris, running back out of South Carolina. Again, I was like, why? Some of these teams that drafted running backs, I had no clue why. First off, the Patriots seem like they draft a running back every year. Second off, they had already, it was the Ravens situation again. They had already drafted a running back prior. They drafted one of my favorite guys, Pierre Strong Jr. earlier. I think I don't know when he went. I can see it right here actually. I think he went in the 4th round. Yeah, he went in the 4th round to the Patriots. They have Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, James White, Pierre Strong, and now Kevin Harris. Like, Kevin Harris has almost 0% chance of making this roster.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, again, this has been a big central theme of this draft. The Patriots didn't seem to know what they were doing, to the point where I saw this meme of Bill Belichick sleeping, and next to him on his computer was like the auto draft logo. Like, yeah, he made some questionable calls, but again, like we've been saying, until we actually see these draft picks pan out, especially with the Patriots, there's really nothing we can say about them.
Yeah. Next one I have Panthers 189 overall, Virginia Tech linebacker Amari Barno. He had been on Mel Kiper's number one best available for a while when I was watching day 3. And finally, I was like, bro, finally, good. The Panthers got him. He ran a 4.38 at the combine, which was the fastest in a long time from a defensive lineman, as he was classified at the combine. And he's a defensive end. He's going to be in the rotation. I think that's good. He's going to end up, I think, maybe the fourth defensive end, 3rd or 4th, behind Brian Burns, Yator Gross-Matos, and Marquise Haynes. Definitely needed another guy in that rotation, so I was happy we got him. And he's fast. He ran 4.38 at 200. I think at the combine he was 240. They list him at 235 on ESPN. But
Getting into more shape.
195 overall Chargers get a guard, Jamari Salyer, Georgia. Really good value there, I thought. He was another guy that I was kind of surprised he slips that far. Maybe should have went in the 4th, but yeah.
Well, wasn't he the guy that we had drafted in one of our mock drafts, but we accidentally picked the other guy?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, we had him even going in the 3rd round. So to get him all the way down here is a steal.
That's interesting. The depth chart on ESPN has Salyer as the backup right tackle to Storm Norton. Wow. That's weird. Definitely didn't play tackle at Georgia.
No.
Another Panthers pick. This one I absolutely loved. The Tom Brady selection, 199th overall. The Panthers got a stud guard, Cade Mays out of Tennessee. Georgia transferred to Tennessee. But yeah, I was ecstatic. He was kind of like Cole Strange, who I was hoping would be in the 3rd round for the Panthers. But Cade Mays is going to come in. He's going to be a backup to start. But I think eventually he could take over at left guard for Pat Elflein. Steelers, 208 overall. Get Cam Hayward's brother, Michigan State fullback Connor Hayward. It's a sad day, though. It's going to break up the Watt boys in Pittsburgh. Derek and TJ. I would think this spells the end for Derek anyways. Didn't really contribute as much as I think the Steelers were hoping he would. Great special teams player. Connor Hayward's going to be the same way. But I think Connor Hayward's going to give you more on offense than what Derek Watt did. He's going to block, obviously, for Najee Harris. But I think he's also going to give Matt Canada some options in the passing game, too.
Yeah, well, I guess this is one of the training camp battles that we'll have to see.
Well, it was weird, too, because they list him on the depth chart as a tight end. And he was I think they listed him during the draft as a tight end, too. He's definitely a fullback, though.
Well, it's the same situation with the Jets and Trevor.
Wesco, he was a tight end coming out of the draft, too. And he's just played fullback for them, so.
But Connor Hayward played fullback. He didn't play tight end.
I don't know.
Rams got good value, 212th overall. Darian Kendrick, corner out of Georgia. Like I said before, they needed corner help. They got Troy Hill in the trade with the Browns. Now they got Darian Kendrick in the 6th round as well. Surprised he was there this late, but I think there were a lot of corners that I was surprised were there still later on in the draft. I'll talk about 2 undrafted guys the Eagles got. But, yeah, great value for Les Snead and the Rams there. Chance Campbell for the Titans, 219th overall. Love it. He's a little undersized, not that fast. Might only be a 1st and 2nd down player. But I love my boy Chance after he showed up in week 1 against Louisville last year. Tariq Castro Fields, last pick of the 6th round, 221st overall for the Niners. Again, they were a team that massively needed corner help. He has corner safety versatility, and I think he'll help that San Francisco secondary a lot there. 7th round here, Thayer Munford, 238th overall to the Raiders, Ohio State. Offensive tackle, he's going to help that line. I didn't have too much to say about him. I just circled that because I thought that was good value by Vegas there. Packers, again, Penn State offensive tackle Rasheed Walker. I mean, that was a guy who I thought could have maybe it was a far shot, but I thought he might have been able to even slip into the 3rd round. Definitely, I thought at the very worst, he was going to be a 4th-round pick. Ends all the way to the Packers in the 7th at 249. They needed offensive line depth for sure. And then last two here, Bengals, 252nd overall. Coastal Carolina DN Jeffrey Gunter. Going to help them on their pass rush. Loved him at Coastal. And then we already talked about Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, going to the Niners, 262nd overall.
Yeah, and I still don't agree with that one, but
I know we're going way too long, Chris. But do you have time for a quick undrafted free agent rundown?
yeah, go ahead.
So, this is alphabetical by team name. The Cardinals, guys I like on their list of undrafted guys they signed. Ronnie Rivers out of Fresno State. Linebacker Chandler Wooten out of Auburn. The Falcons, wide receiver Stanley Berryhill III out of Arizona. They also signed offensive tackle one Tyler Vrabel, Mike Vrabel's son, out of Boston College. Falcons signed him undrafted. Also, linebacker Nate Landman out of Colorado. Love him. It's funny. I started to write them down. I only got the Dallas. But it was like I was just writing wide receiver, linebacker, wide receiver, line. That's all the positions that I like. Ravens, quarterback Anthony Brown out of Oregon. Running back Ricky Person Jr. out of NC State. And they got 3 great wide receivers undrafted. Wide receiver Slade Bolden out of Alabama, who everyone and their mother thought was going to be a Patriot. Wide receiver Emeka Emezi from NC State. So they got two Wolfpack guys there. And then wide receiver Mekhi Polk out of Mississippi State. Love him there for the Ravens. Also linebacker Diego Fagot from Navy. Linebacker Josh Ross out of Michigan. And linebacker Jacoby McClain out of Auburn. All 3 linebackers to the Ravens there. The Bills, wide receiver Neil Pau'u, BYU. Tight end Jalen Weidermeyer, Texas A&M. Like him there with Buffalo. Panthers, there's only one guy. They only signed 5 undrafted free agents so far. And the guy I liked with Carolina, wide receiver Charleston Rambo, Miami. Bears, they signed quite a bit of guys. Running back Master Teague out of Ohio State. Wide receiver Landon Lenore out of Southern Illinois. Tight end Chase Allen out of Iowa State. The Bengals, they got running back Shamari Jones, Coastal Carolina. Another Chanticleer wide receiver, Devon Hiley. Wide receiver Kwame Lassiter, the second out of Kansas. They got linebacker Clarence Hicks out of UTSA. And a long snapper, Cal Adamitis, the number 1 long snapper in the draft from Pitt. The Browns here, they got Isaiah Weston, wide receiver out of Northern Iowa. He was a sleeper, possible. Linebacker Silas Kelly, another Coastal Carolina guy. And corner Sean Jolly out of Appalachian State. The Cowboys, they got some dudes. Running back Malik Davis out of Florida. Couple wide receivers, Dontario Drummond out of Ole Miss. Ty Freifogel out of Indiana. And Jakari Roberson out of Wake Forest. Tight end Peyton Hendershot out of Indiana. Center Alec Lindstrom out of Boston College. Edge rusher Big Cat Bryant out of UCF. Safety Marquise Bell out of Florida A&M. Safety Wanye Thomas out of Georgia Tech. The Broncos, now this guy is an invited guy. He hasn't been signed yet. But Eric Berrier, Eastern Washington. We loved him in the spring. Who else with the Broncos here? Linebacker Christopher Allen, Alabama. Corner Jaquan McMillian, ECU. Lions running back Greg Bell, San Diego State. Wide receiver Khalil Pimpleton, Central Michigan. Wide receiver Corey Sutton out of Appalachian State. Wide receiver Josh Johnson, Tulsa. Tight end Derek Deese Jr., San Jose State. Love him there. Offensive tackle Obina Ezi, or Easy, TCU there. The Packers, let's see. Running back Tyler Goodson. Love him. Wide receiver Iowa. Wide receiver Danny Davis, Wisconsin guy. Edge rusher Chauncey Manick out of Louisiana. Linebacker Ellis Brooks, my Penn State boy. Safety Trey Sterling out of Oklahoma State. The Texans, wide receiver Johnny Johnson out of Oregon. Offensive tackle Myron Cunningham out of Arkansas. Safety Colby Harvell Peel out of Oklahoma State. I think this is Zion's brother. Defensive back Tristan McCollum, just because he's out of Sam Houston State too, and he has the same last name. The Colts, they got quarterback Jack Cohn, Notre Dame. They got 3 good running backs here. Running back Max Borghi, Washington State. Running back Devontae Price, Florida International. And running back CJ Verdell out of Oregon. The Colts signed a crap ton of undrafted free agents. Wide receiver Samson Nakua, BYU. Offensive tackle Ryan Vandemark out of UConn. They got defensive end Scott Patchen out of Colorado State. Linebacker JoJo Doman out of Nebraska. Jets didn't want him. Linebacker Sterling Weatherford out of Miami, Ohio. Corner Dallas Flowers out of Pittsburgh State. They spelled that wrong on this article. No H. No H on the end. Kansas, Pittsburgh. Jags wide receiver Kevin Austin Jr. out of Notre Dame. Tight end Garrett Prince out of UAB. Linebacker Grant Morgan, Arkansas. And kicker Andrew Mevis, Iowa State. The Chiefs, they got quarterback Dustin Crum out of Kent State. Running back Jerry and Ely out of Ole Miss. Running back Tayon Fleet Davis out of Maryland. Linebacker Mike Rose out of Iowa State. Love that for Kansas City. Vegas, quarterback Chase Garbers out of Cal. Wide receiver Justin Hall out of Ball State. Wide receiver Trey Turner out of Virginia Tech. Defensive tackle Myron Tagovailoa Amosa out of Notre Dame. Linebacker Zach Van Valkenburg out of Iowa. Safety Quinterio Cole out of Louisville. Chargers, quarterback Brandon Peters out of Illinois. Running back Letty Brown, West Virginia. Running back Kevin Marks Jr. out of Buffalo. Tackle Andrew Trainer out of William & Mary. Rams, do I like any of their guys? I don't. Oh, no, I do. Oh, no. Linebacker Jake Hummel, Iowa State. I think that's the only guy I really like there. Oh, actually, no, they got the Dicker. They got kicker Cameron Dicker, Texas, with the Rams there. Dolphins, they got Van White, NC State, and also running back Zaquandre White out of South Carolina. Wide receiver Tanner Connor, Idaho State. He's one of my favorite small school guys. Wide receiver Braylon Sanders out of Ole Miss. Offensive tackle Kellen Deesh, Arizona State. Vikings, wide receiver Thomas Hennigan, Appalachian State. Patriots, they got they listed him as a wide receiver, which I was surprised. De'Aaron King, Miami, making the switch, I think. D tackle LeBrian Ray, that Alabama connection there.
Of course.
And they got punter Jake Julian, Eastern Michigan. The Saints, running back Abram Smith at Baylor. Wide receiver Dejon Dixon at Nickel State. Wide receiver, kick returner Rashid Shaheed, your favorite school, Weber State. Tight end Lucas Kroll out of Pitt. Linebacker Joel Dublanko, Cincinnati. Linebacker Nefi Sewell, Utah. Safety Smoke Monday out of Auburn. They got kicker John Parker Romo, Virginia Tech. The Giants, running back Jayshon Corbin, Florida State. Tight end Austin Allen, Nebraska. D-line Christopher Hinton, Michigan. Edge rusher Timon Fox, North Carolina. Safety Yusuf Corker out of Kentucky. Your Jets. Okay, this is where it becomes questionable because it also lists Van Knight on the Jets. So I don't know what team he actually went to. Otherwise, with the Jets, defensive tackle CJ Brewer, Coastal Carolina, like that one.
Yep.
Nothing else.
Yeah, there wasn't much for the Jets undrafted class, but the actual drafted class made up for it. So
the Eagles, like I said, I love the guys we got, man. We got two quarterbacks. Quarterback Carson Strong, Nevada. Quarterback EJ Perry out of Brown. We got running back Kennedy Brooks out of Oklahoma. Wide receiver Britton Covey out of Utah. Guard William Dunkel, San Diego State. And then these were the two I was really excited about undrafted. Corner Mario Goodrich out of Clemson and corner Josh Jobe out of Alabama. Those two, I was super excited that we got those guys. And then also I like safety Reed Blankenship, Mid-Tennessee State. The Steelers, running back Mateo Durant, Duke. Super hyped. We got running back. We got Mark's cousin. We got Jalen Warren, running back, Oklahoma State. Center Chris Steele out of USC. That was it there. The Niners, wide receiver Taysir Mack, Pitt. Wide receiver Tay Martin, Oklahoma State. Big one for the Niners. They got center Donovan West, Arizona State. He was a guy that I thought was for sure going to get drafted. Linebacker Jeremiah Gemmel, UNC. Safety Leon O'Neal, Texas A&M. Seahawks, they signed a bunch. Got quarterback Levi Lewis out of Louisiana. They have invited this guy. He hasn't been signed yet, though. Quarterback Caleb Ellaby, Western Michigan. Wide receiver Demetrius Robertson, Auburn. Linebacker Vi Jones, NC State. Safety Joey Blunt out of Virginia. Safety Bubba Bolden, Miami. Safety Scott Nelson, Wisconsin. The Bucks, wide receiver Jarvis Stearns, Western Kentucky. Wide receiver Devin Tompkins, Utah State. Linebacker Olakunle Fatukasi out of Rutgers. Linebacker JJ Russell out of Memphis. Safety Nolan Turner, Clemson. The Titans, wide receiver Reggie Roberson, Jr., SMU. Defensive tackle Haskell Garrett, Ohio State, and defensive tackle Jaden Peavy, Texas A&M. That was two big gets, I thought, for Tennessee. They also got defensive lineman David Onanai out of Houston. Corner Trey Swilling, Georgia Tech. And then the Commanders, quarterback Cole Kelly, Southeastern Louisiana. Wide receiver Jaquez Ezzard, Sam Houston State. And that was it. There's a lot of guys I like, but I still think the Eagles won the undrafted free agents.
Yeah, there was a couple surprises there that I was surprised that went undrafted. I've said Carson Strong's name a million times already. Jojo Doma was another one I was surprised slipped all the way to undrafted. But yeah, some of those we'll have to see which of those undrafted guys actually end up making rosters and making an impact. But yeah,
A bunch will. It happens every year. Okay,
and
so
it'll be some of the ones that we don't expect too. So
right, yeah. So we will not have a Monday show next week, unless someone else can host it, because I will not be here. I will be traveling most of the way to North Carolina right after my final. So unless Logan can host it, because I don't think you can't, right?
no, I can't.
So next Monday show will be the 16th, and that will be actually that's not right. The NFC North recap is not right because we're doing the AFC South this weekend. We'll do the NFC North show, possibly the Friday show after that. I don't know if we're gonna have a Friday show after that. We gotta see how my first week goes, what time I get done in my internship, and then we gotta figure out if we can still do Monday, Friday at 5, or if we gotta change the schedule around. So the second 2 Fridays from now show is unconfirmed, but at least this Friday we'll have another show, and it will be the AFC South 8th round draft recap, talking Jags, Titans, Colts, and Texans. So, apologies for the long show. We had 262 picks to recap. I thought we did a good job of getting it in almost 3.5 hours. I know you got stuff.
It's always going to be a long one, so.
I know you got stuff to do. Go have fun with your family. I'm gonna watch some Netflix. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media, though, at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Chris, you're free from having to post on Instagram for a little bit.
Yeah,